celebration.
Keep it classy most of the time, all the time.
Can you be racist and classy?
Sure.
How?
Like at the same time?
I think the minute you become racist...
Sorry, at the same time?
No, I don't think racist people... Prejudiced people is one thing. But straight up racist people, now that we've learned a definition, Fredo's learned a definition, that you think you're superior, I think that makes you an ignorant person. Therefore, you can't be classy. Because you're not open-minded to things.
I think we need to look at the definition of classy now. Because I don't fully... I couldn't tell you what the definition of classy... To me, it would be fancy and polite.
Classy.
Stylish
Adjective.
and sophisticated.
You can't be racist and
High
classy.
class. Superior.
So I guess you can, right? Because here we go with the superior
At least,
complex.
hey, you know what? At least you think you're classy. Maybe not actually classy, but you think you are.
Okay.
So,
Well, what's more important, you thinking or the way that people see you?
I think what's most important is the way you think about yourself. But I think if everybody thinks you're a piece of shit, your life's going to be problematic. You know, if like you feel like you're better than everybody else because of the color of your skin, then you could maybe. There's tons of people out in the world that feel like that right now, including some that work in government that think.
President.
Evidence suggests, you know, I can't. He's never come out and said I'm better than black people, but evidence, you know, points to maybe that's how he feels. But people who are racist feel like they're superior, so maybe they feel like they're classy too. And I'm sure there's tons of people that feel like they're classy. There's also people that identify with being kind of like regular folk that also are racist. So it doesn't necessarily mean just because you're racist, you're classy or.
Yeah, it's just when we see these the Karens, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, the entitled people,
right,
that feel like they need to interject themselves,
and they're usually
into
interjecting with
lives.
like an aggressive, negative
better
type
than
of like
better than you. I run shit here,
but it's never done in a classy manner. It's never done
way.
In an intellectual way. Like you never see a racist come with an idea that makes you actually feel inferior. Right, well, and if you were so superior, and if you were so intellectual and so better, couldn't you figure out a better way than to just be like mad at a motherfucker?
I think we wouldn't see those on the internet as much because the stuff that we see on the internet is the stuff that's so blatantly crazy and just rude and inappropriate and shit like that. That you know, somebody makes somebody pick up their phone and hit record. The thing you're talking about probably happens every day in a microaggressive kind of way, where your boss tells you that the way you spoke in the meeting was very well and commend you for how you articulated your point.
But in the course of history, there has to be a racist that was like witty and classy, and there's not. There's nobody that
I don't know, man. I can't call them off the top of my head.
Well, like
them.
Maybe like a Hitler, but we don't really know how Hitler's personality.
I mean, we probably can tell how his personality was. I couldn't, but I'm saying I'm sure there's like biographies or certain things that people have recorded that can tell if he was like a funny guy or if he was a rude person or if he was like a smart, not smart or a smart.
I mean, okay, where's the racist Dave Chappelle? Somebody that can articulate something, somebody that can like make you think.
I can't tell you that person off the top of my head, but I would think there has to be some people in this world that are just good debaters, you know, that can just spit something and make other people, but there's heads of clans, you know, there's heads of that get people to follow them with their rhetoric. So I don't know them, but there has to be somebody that would at least make sense to some people. You know what I mean? There has to be, because otherwise,
I think we're giving them too much credit.
Is racism otherwise, if there isn't, then is racism a problem?
Well, racism is a problem because, like I said, when these people attack with their ideas, or you're walking down the street and you're in the wrong neighborhood, so she's going to come attack you. It's like, you can't come up with a more sophisticated way than just coming down and yelling at me. Like,
Okay.
that's what makes you look ignorant. That's why
Yeah.
you become a meme, and this is what breaks
Right.
your whole identity and
Yeah.
makes that's why when you think of a clan leader, you think of some backwoods country bunkin person.
I don't know. I don't really think, like, necessarily think that. I feel like real racism is intellectual. It's intricate. It's deep. It's not even like, because I think of like, because systemic racism is deep, bro, and it's commendable at some level to, like, I mean, in the way that, not commendable that they're doing it, but like, shit, man, that's deep. When you start,
Like Colin
when you
Tepro,
Google
stuff like that.
COINTELPRO is one of them.
COINTELPRO.
I mean, that's because the people in power were able to do it. You know, they had the means of doing that. And that's, counterintelligence and lying on people to get other people. Like, yeah, that shit's, it gets deep. If you Google professional haircuts, right? Professional haircuts, the first 40 pictures, you go to images, are going to be of white dudes. Unprofessional haircuts.
Is that intentional?
You put the word "un" in there. Say again.
Is that intentional, or just the fact that there's a majority and a minority? So therefore, there's more white people. So that's why the algorithm is going to pick those pictures and put them at the top, or whoever's picking
The
them.
definition of professional and the definition of unprofessional. More of them, the unprofessional ones, it's immediately a bunch of black dudes. Professional, it's immediately a bunch of white dudes.
You get what I'm saying?
Do you think it's because there's more
white people? Therefore, if you
Okay,
title them
so if
as
there is,
professional,
why would all the white people be automatically professional?
because unfortunately, because of the numbers, there's more white professionals. It's not to say that black people can't be professionals, but because there's more white people, therefore they're professionals. Therefore, those haircuts serve as the top because there's just more people.
Right, but I'm asking for pictures of professional haircuts, not a professional white haircut.
What happens if you put professional black haircuts? That's not going to happen.
Sure, you can, but then it'll be all black people.
Right. I'm just saying that maybe it's.
If I say professional haircuts, it should be a mixture of Asian and white and all stray of colors. Just because. So if it's what you're saying, then why put all of the most on the top? Can we flip? Do we need to flip that, or hit like a mixer or a randomer or whatever, where we can put all the races in the mixture of together, so that we don't have just the like, I don't understand how, if it says unprofessional, if there's mostly white people, right? Why isn't it just white people with unprofessional haircuts at the top?
Because since there's more white people, the number of professionals are automatically going to be more. So when you're doing the statistics, or if there's an algorithm in place, because there happens to be more professionals and their identity happens to be white, that's why it looks like a superior thing. That's why.
But why would the most unprofessional ones be black?
Maybe because there's I guess there's more of a stigma with the way that society,
What stigma?
The fact that, like, they put out these like stories of black people, Spanish people, Arabic people, they happen to be not in these positions of power, professional.
Right.
Right.
So again, it's racist.
Right.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not because of an algorithm. It's because it's racist. That's another thing. When you say like algorithm, those things are inherently racist to begin with, because they're programmed, right, with a certain viewpoint
Why?
in front. So when you want a computer to learn about something, including the algorithm for professional and unprofessional haircuts, they're going to, when it says unprofessional, that's what's getting pulled up.
Yeah.
So it's, all of it is inherently, sad to say, to me, racist. It just is.
And it's on purpose.
I don't think so. I wouldn't say
Okay.
everybody's racism is on purpose at all.
Okay.
I don't feel like, especially in 2020. You know what I mean?
Like when we talked about cameras, the people that develop the lenses of cameras are white people.
Yeah.
So that when they back in the day used to take pictures of black people, they
Right.
wouldn't be exposed.
Right.
The camera, because the camera wasn't.
I think the issue now with that, I hear what you're saying. I think the issue now with that is it's not getting fixed.
Totally.
It's not getting adjusted.
There's
now.
no oversight.
I mean, there's like, again, literally in 2020, because everything that's going on, stuff is kind of getting.
Now, is that because
adjusted.
there's no black people in those rooms that makes those decisions?
Yes,
That's what it
absolutely.
is.
And again, there's those things are trying to get adjusted right now today for the past 2 months or something like that. But hopefully we can keep it going. We can keep it going because Jon Stewart told a good kind of anecdote about being accused of being sexist or something like that, and him coming to his writer's room and being like, man, they're calling me a sexist. You believe that? Tom and James and Kevin, Bob, Pete, shit. You know, like everybody is in there as a dude. So that goes to also talking about race, on how they thought that by not looking at the people's names for the writing samples, that they were being fair, and like, so now everybody can get a fair shot, any color, gender, whatever, right? But still in the room, it was all white dudes. That's because they were going off the humor that was funny and relatable to them.
Right.
Instead of bringing in a female perspective and bringing in a black perspective and an Indian perspective and a Native American perspective and a Chinese and a Japanese. Now, they don't have these many spaces in the room, so people do what they can, it sounds like. But it's not necessarily... Because when you talk about even playing field, it isn't. Even if you're trying to make it one, it isn't. It just inherently isn't.
Well, but again, it goes back to the fact that there's less of one people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's a part of it too, right?
Yeah.
That's a part of it too. That's why we get into ratios and percentages instead of actual numbers. So that's how you kind of really get into the actual.
Because they say the American population of African Americans is 13%.
13%.
And then Hispanics make up like 40-something%.
No, I don't think it's that high. Is it?
We're taking over.
Oh, Hispanics. That's
Yeah.
different though. That's different as far as if you look at like if you're looking at FBI statistics of crime, Hispanics, everybody's either Hispanic or not Hispanic. But everybody's also black, white, or other.
Right, because you can have like African American, Hispanic.
Right.
And
So
stuff.
13, so you're saying 40%. Okay, so you're talking about Hispanic white or Hispanic black?
Well, what I'm saying is, and I'm trying to like word this the right way so it doesn't come off like I guess racist, right? But if there's more white people on Earth, or let's just say
no,
United
just the
States,
United States, not in the
there's
world.
more
There's less
white people.
There's less white people in the United States.
There's more
Or
white people
world.
on Earth. I mean, on
in the United States, more white people in the United States, overwhelmingly, right?
The context of whatever programming, TV, sales of things, down to like
Everything,
cream, hair
much
products, everything. Since there's more of those people,
right?
Common capitalism will tell you,
Right.
we're going to cater to
Right.
these people because they're a bigger consumer group, and that's why we have more white programming,
Sure.
more white everything.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that's why only we have it right now.
No. I'm just saying that is the common sense of why a lot of the things get passed over. Like you're saying, in the writers group, there were more white comedians in there because that was their edge of comedy.
Well, you can't really compare like or rationalize kind of like that with that, because you're talking about total population of the United States and percentages of total population in the United States. But what you should be, and I don't know if the numbers are, of people who watch TV or who people consume.
I think all
media.
around, anywhere you put it, there's going to be more white people doing it because
Okay,
there's just more white people.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You know what I mean? So maybe there is some systematic racism, but there also is the fact that since there's more white people, the common sense approach would be we are either want to have a bigger consumer group, so we want to attack that consumer group. There, where we're going to develop more content, more products, etc., to cater to this superior, no, majority group. You know what I mean? Not to say the superior, they're a majority. So that's why a lot of that shit happens.
No. That's why some of that shit might happen, maybe, perhaps, and
I'm
that's
just
kind of a
talking
loose.
about content and product. I'm not talking.
No,
about...
I hear what you're saying. I hear exactly what you're saying, and I'm saying that's maybe, possibly, why some of that shit happens. Some of it,
Right.
but if we're talking about money on the table, like you're saying, 40% Hispanic or whatever, and then 13% ain't nothing. So people aren't just like not wanting to cater to that.
What I'm getting at is I
But-
think if African Americans and well Hispanics have already been doing, Chinese people or Asian people have already been doing it, is creating their own. You know, like they say all the time, like it's awesome what Tyler Perry's doing in Atlanta, right? He's creating a production studio that'll cater more to African American content. Because of course he's African American, he has the money in it, and now he can
And giving them the jobs.
right. And he understands the demand and the demographic and how to
Right.
get it to his people. So now we're going to build our own studios and our own content. Where in Hollywood, since it's more white people and they're used to selling their content to white people, that's why you get less black films, less black things.
No, it's not. It's not just like you're making it seem like that's the only reason that happens.
No, it's not the only reason.
Okay.
I think that overwhelmingly a lot of the I don't think I want to be optimistic and say that that's the reason that white stuff gets greenlighted more than I'm just racist and I hate black shit. You see what I'm
No,
saying?
and I don't think it isn't necessarily all the way about people being racist and hating black shit. Because like we talk all the time, people are racist on levels. And if you keep a people at a certain level by closing doors and not allowing them access to certain things, that's different. That's a big. I think that's the most part of all of this.
But you don't think that
I don't
happens
think
a
it's-
lot?
I don't
People
think it's
blocking
just.
access?
I don't think it's just because I think white people are going to buy this, so we're going to make it. I don't think it's just because of that.
So I'll give you an example. I was watching this Netflix show called Hollywood, and it's loosely based on the way Hollywood was in the 40s and 50s. Okay, so they weren't. So there's this point where the studio head doesn't want to make this film that was written by a black writer. Okay, the director wants to cast a black woman as the lead, and the studio head maybe was a little prejudiced, but his main thing was, if I make this movie, I don't know who I'm going to be able to sell it to, because there's more white people that I'll make money if I make this a white film than black people will consume it. So if I want to do, in a sense, like a charity thing, yeah, I can put this black film out as a black lead, and yeah, that's going to galvanize black people and say, oh shit, look at us on the big picture for the first time and all that. But I'm not going to make no money off of it. So yes, there is racism, there's systematic oppression, but I think more than not, it's people trying to appease a consumer group and make money off of that, because they know that if they go after like the black films and the black content, it's more, they're gonna make less money, but they're doing it more.
That's not true right now.
No, not right now. But
2020.
I'm just saying in general. Yes, you have.
No,
films,
not in general. Right now, that's not true.
You have films like Wakanda, and there's certain other films that break the norm and they appeal to the masses.
They continue to, yeah.
But but more than not, unfortunately, because
Well, if we're talking about history, that's not fair.
no, I'm not saying about fair. I'm just talking about
Well, if we're talking about history, of course, because
basic
in history,
economics and
in history, of course not. There's no way that's not fair. There was a fucking 400 to 500 year head start on the white culture, if you want to call it that. So the culture of Hollywood was white largely because of the racism. And then at a certain point, they started to figure out, oh yeah, we can make money off of here. So it started to get better. But we're still at a point now where it's still a problem. And to say to say because white films have made more, or we think white films have
I'm
made
just
more.
saying that part of the problem is that there's less black people. That's all I'm saying.
No.
If
That
there
part
was
of the,
more
no,
black people, there
see,
would be a
that's-
bigger voice.
That's the issue right there.
Okay.
Is like thinking that way of thinking that because I'm making a white thing or a whatever thing, that it's going to make more money, when we've proven that's not true. Proven it's not true.
I mean,
So we can continue to evolve and stop thinking like that and continue to think like this. The reason the Tyler Perry thing is important is because it's getting a group of people up further toward the front of the race that people have been set behind.
I don't think they're
partly
getting
because
in
of
front.
people
I think
thinking
they're creating their own race, their own, not race as in color, but like their own lane.
no, but of the same race. Hollywood, media production, television, it's the same race, but that's been held back for years
Why
and years
is
and
BET
years.
called BET and not just another channel?
Because because it's black entertainment television, allegedly? Is that what you're saying?
And they market to African Americans.
Like I said, because
same way you have Telemundo.
because the original one is marketed toward one group of people, and that's the problem. The issue is just the only people that it was
And
marketed
what
to.
I'm saying
So instead of giving programming on ABC for everybody, like I guess Blackish or some shit like that, or Black as Fuck,
But
or
that's
whatever.
what I'm saying. I think that's the wrong in it. The same way Hispanics have built Telemundo,
You don't,
and
you
they
think
built
there
their own.
should be a BET and a Telemundo and
There should be more BETs. There should
a
be
China TV and,
Yes.
and a Russia TV.
and they should have their own studios. They should have their own Hollywoods. They don't have to be in California.
They don't
could
have to
in
be,
Atlanta.
no.
But they
don't
have
have
to
to be.
instead of trying to fight to get acceptance in the white community,
Right.
they got to build their own.
right, but
Because that's the only real equity there.
but they gotta build their own for
Fuck
sure. You
getting
gotta build you
accept-
gotta build your own everything. But that's not the issue. If everybody's giving fucking roadblocks and everybody's starting
No, you're right about
500
that.
years behind.
You're right
So
about
every
that.
time somebody says build your own and pull your fucking bootstraps up, it's
No,
like
no.
motherfucker, how?
That's not what I'm saying.
How the fuck you supposed to do that shit?
Because the Hispanics have done it.
Right. How are they doing?
Because they knew that they can't.
How are they doing it?
They couldn't get on white American TV because they speak another language,
Right.
And they have their own culture,
Right.
So they built their own studios and their own film production. Yes, I agree. There's systematic roadblocks put in that makes it harder. But instead of, because we're going towards the future now, instead of trying to fight Hollywood for acceptance when they've been so difficult, now as we're moving forward and we're hopefully providing more resources, more tools to these impoverished, don't join, build your own.
And that's what's happening.
That's all I'm saying.
That continues to happen.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
we can't say that this other group of people is only doing it because it makes money. That's the only reason we're doing it. They're doing it to continually
what I'm
cut
saying
people out.
Okay, so that's where I'm getting at. Do you think they do it more to cut people out, or because it's fine? It's more of a financial.
It's one of those sliding
security.
It's one of those sliding scale things, bro. At a certain point back then, it was about just race, right?
Okay.
And then you come to this side, and we're going to talk about its money and race, but it's basically the same thing, bro.
I think it's money. I don't think it's race anymore.
It's definitely race, man. There's still a large group of people who
I
just
think
feel a certain
racism
way.
Still exists,
Of course it does.
but superseding that is how are we
'Cause
going
if
to
it-
capitalize on this at the maximum level? Because that's just the way capitalism is set
they're
up.
gonna try to make money off it. But anytime there's some real show of power or a real show of change in whatever, then nothing ever really happens. And this kind of like
Because who ends up
idea,
owning it? The white people.
exactly, yeah.
And that's all I'm saying.
So you're talking about starting from the bottom and making your own and doing your own. and
Well,
continue to do that, like a BET, but is owned by white people.
well, now it is owned by white
know what
people,
I mean?
but it's yes, you're absolutely right. We need to give more resources
So
and tools.
for
But
hundreds of years,
let's
you
stop
hold
trying
you
to
hold
break in.
for hundreds of years you hold people back, right? And then you're like, well, just go ahead and do better.
Just the same way other
Just just do your thing.
do your thing, but know that we're not gonna block your shit anymore.
Who gives the loans to the banks from the banks? Where do they get the money from?
I agree. Those things need to be, but even the banks operate on the fact that we don't know this demographic like that because there's not, you know what I mean? And even within the black-owned banks, there's even African Americans, just like Spanish,
So what?
that don't
man?
want
so
to
what?
invest.
Blacks and African Americans can be racist too. So don't give me that shit neither.
No, I agree with that. And a lot of those people don't want to reinvest in their communities and in the banks and structure
Again,
those things.
hundreds of years of programming, hundreds of years of all this bullshit. So when you come down to it, the motherfuckers who have all the options, who have all the keys, tell you to either get on board with what we're doing and how we're doing it or kick rocks. And then you got other people who say, why don't y'all just do your thing and do it yourself and build your own? It's like, I'm trying to do this, but I'm also trying to like live. So can I borrow some money to do my thing? Yeah, at like 25% or whatever the actual. It's not as easy as just do your own.
No, it's
you know
never
what I mean?
going to be easy, but it's the same way it's not easy to build your own. It's also not easy to continue to try to break into a white-owned, dominated industry that constantly gives you excuses
Yeah,
and
for sure.
BS.
For sure.
So,
But if you're willing to fight that fight because it's the right,
I think
because
the
it's
other
right,
fight is better.
I don't think we should
Ownership.
rate fights. I don't think we should give ownership is better. You're right. Fuck it. You're right.
Ownership is
ownership is
better.
always better. But hey, man, it's not inclusion.
No,
So,
it's not. All those things need to be fixed, but I think going forward in the future, I think it would, it needs to go back to Black Wall Street. It needs to go back to those things so that the content.
I think there's a place for a lot of that shit, and I think the problem is that there's also a place for inclusion. There's also a place for getting on the same level as everybody, especially the people who are in charge.
Little things are starting to happen. Like Chase just came out with like an initiative to invest. Like I think it was like close to $1 billion, and like that reserve is going to go to a special account that's only going to be for minority groups, and you're going to get pushed. Your paperwork will get pushed forward, and who knows if that's really going to happen. But people are like, even like a lot of the record labels and stuff, they're starting to invest back and give money. I don't know where that money's going, and it might just be some propaganda shit. But it's the first time in history where these big corporations are saying, no, we're on purposely going to be reinvesting back in these communities. And it might be like some propaganda. It might be the call of the times, you know what I mean? Because of so much insurrection and protests and stuff, a lot of these corporations are starting to be like, I better at least look like I'm doing something. And that's a change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. So, like, I hear all of that, right? And, like, I guess like you, I want to believe it, I guess. But all of that shit seems like mouth service, lip service, all of it. When I turn on my Amazon,
now we just got to hold people accountable.
I turn on my Amazon and it says Black Lives Matter, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, I don't know, man. When the sheriff or police officers knelt with the Orlando protesters and then hours later tear gassed them.
Yeah.
So or Black Lives Matter.
You think Black Lives Matter is getting overrun by other people?
I think like kind of part of the conversation we had last week about protesters versus riots. I think there's people who are opportunistic about it. I was actually having a similar conversation with my girlfriend about how I think Trump, or if we'll say Republicans, the ones who are voting for Trump, that side, right, left, whatever, I think they got better fans than the Democrats. You know what I mean? When I say better fans, I mean, let's take it to like football or something. And you got Team A, the Eagles, and Team B, the Bulls, right? And then the Eagles fans are super fucking like ready to get the win, and they're out there cheering, and they're there every week, but they kind of like, you know, some of them hang outside in the fucking the tailgate party most of the time. They don't all come in, and then there's some of them just
You know
taking
what it is,
selfies
though?
the whole time, and
You know
some
what
of
it is?
them
Why?
taking concession stands. And then you got the Bulls, right? The Bulls are there on time. They have the same chance.
But why? Why?
Why?
Because they got Michael Jordan. They got Donald Trump. Who do we have? Biden?
It's not just that. I think it's
No,
the
it
idea.
is that.
No,
It
it's
was
not.
shitty.
It's
You-
always been like that, dog. It's always been like that.
Nah, when
no,
Obama was
that-
running, he
no,
crushed Republicans.
that doesn't. But they're. What I'm saying
He
is,
was Heisman the
doesn't
most.
matter. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is the ideology of the fanship is more consistent and more loyal and more diehard on the right than it is on the left, because the left is always fractured and fractioned into black, anti-war, environmental, fucking gay. Just like over here, we're
Yeah,
and then
but
we
the-
argue amongst each other about the dumb shit.
I
I'm
can't-
watching people argue about the Black Lives Matter fucking mural on. They're arguing about whether it should be a mural in the first place, if white people can write messages on it, if white people did write message on it, if it was cops, if it was because they had defaced it.
Yeah, but it's because the Democrat, like when Clinton was running, bro, he had everybody galvanized. You were a hardcore fan of Clinton. You know, even though he was a womanizer and he did a lot of fucked up shit, people love Clinton. This motherfucker's playing the saxophone on Arsenio Hall.
When you
Same
go in the
thing with
comment
Obama.
section, arguments. When you go in the comment section on the right, praise God, thank you, yes.
But we don't have a real leader on the Democratic side. There's not.
Even if we did.
Nah, man. Obama, bro. I
Even if
can't
we
agree
did.
with that, bro. Obama was the golden child.
He
bro.
was. That's why he won.
He had everybody. Like
Yeah,
the way,
he did.
The way them hardcore MAGAs are shouting Trump out.
If we had
That was going on with the Obama base.
if we had a better leader, we'd have a better chance for sure. For sure. We'd have a better chance. But I think historically, at least from Bush
Yeah.
on, it's always
Reagan.
been the right.
Reagan.
I don't know.
People fucked with Reagan, bro.
Was-
He did 4 years. Bush Senior only did one term. Bush Junior did 2 terms because of
That's
the
what I'm
Iraq.
talking about. I'm talking about Bush. The
W.
second Bush, son Bush.
Yeah, but the only reason why second Bush, if you remember Bush's first term, W's first term, there was Comedy Central sitcom
They
on
were
how
like-
stupid
yeah.
he was.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the war happened that everybody was like, "Oh
But
shit!"
I mean, if you're talking about that, there's plenty of sitcoms talking about how dumb Trump is.
Yeah, but there's a respect level for
Only on his side, though, dog.
bro. Even
Only on his. Trust me, I know you love Trump. I know you like Trump, but like, only on his side.
I
dog.
like Charlemagne. Okay, Charlemagne is a strong voice for, you would say, liberals. Okay, a lot of his allies and the people that that he kind of amplifies would be on the Democratic liberal side. Okay, but even sometimes Charlemagne would be like, you know what, I kind of fuck with Trump because of his.
He says it ironically half the time.
And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not gonna go vote for
No,
Trump.
I
I
know,
haven't
but
it's something about
like-
his
but you like
tenacity, the way he
For all
speaks
the
his
wrong
mind.
reasons, dog. For all the wrong reasons. But that doesn't matter. That's not what we're talking about.
Those are attributes of his personality that I enjoy. Is he a piece of shit person? Does he like fuck people's head up, and is he an opportunist? Yes. But his ability to master that shit,
Whatever it is, they got better fans.
because of his ability
Maybe.
to he's a hell of a businessman. He's mad
Possibly.
charismatic. He
But
speaks his mind.
I don't want to give it all to him, though, because I don't think so. Because I think Bush had the same thing.
Ooh, I can't no. Bush was an idiot.
No, I didn't say Bush is as good or worse than Donald Trump. What I was just talking about was the comment section, the fans, the fanship, the support. Since Bush, it's been like, damn, y'all it's like a cult. It's like no matter what this motherfucker does, it's like,
I don't think it's the same people.
you know, the same people.
Nah. I think people definitely respected Bush.
So you don't think the people that voted for Bush voted for Trump?
Some of them,
I think most of them probably
but
did.
there's a new radicalization.
Dog, I think the same people that voted for Bush, right? Not the same, but the ones that you're thinking didn't vote for Trump, voted for Obama, and then voted for fucking Trump.
Yeah,
They keep voting for change.
yeah,
Not the same.
right.
Yeah,
They're just behind some.
but they're in a cult now.
I could see
They
that.
have like the same tone. Praise God. Yes, he's our savior. Fucking all of this shit. Over here, it's like
I would say
like
that
children arguing amongst each other.
I would say that Trump is closer to Reagan than to the Bushes,
Why?
because Reagan was an actor. Reagan was his personality was built up in entertainment, and then he crossed over to politics, similar to Trump's process.
Yeah, but if you believe the documentaries and shit like that, Reagan really didn't have much.
no,
say
Bush,
in
he
what-
was a puppet of Bush, absolutely,
You know, but
But-
Trump seems like he's fucking
by himself.
just
He's running his own
bang,
shit.
bang, bang, son.
But I'm saying the people he's galvanizing, I think it's a lot more similar to the people that Reagan galvanized. The fan base you're talking about. I think it's more similar to Reagan than to the
Okay,
Bush.
so take it all the way back to then.
Yeah.
Than them having better fans.
Because
guess.
I think those, because before then, I think you had racist Democrats and you had racist, like,
Of course you did. Democrats was the racist party, back
But it
in
wasn't
fucking
until Reagan
1940
that maybe
something, 50 something.
even Kennedy, that the Democrats were like, oh shit, we need to start repping for social.
Oh no, that was Nixon.
That's when it started happening.
Yeah. Law and Order, and then the South migration when he got all the like Southern Democrats to be Republicans and shit.
Right. So Nixon's the one that made Democrats be
Yeah,
pro-black.
not pro-black.
I thought it was Kennedy.
When were the Republicans pro-black? You mean Democrats become Republicans?
No, when the Democrats.
Because it was Democrats were the ones that like love slavery and all this other shit early on.
Right.
But then when Nixon came along, there was that migration of the Great Southern Migration is what I think it was called, and it was the senators and shit like that from the South that go and to be Republicans.
Oh, I thought it was during Kennedy's that, like, 'cause I thought Kennedy was.
I mean, that's around the same time, right?
because then Kennedy, then Lyndon
Johnson,
then
and then
Nixon.
and then yeah.
Because I thought Kennedy was the first like pro-black. You know.
Yeah,
like,
he was. Nixon wasn't pro-black.
Right.
He's the one that got everybody to do the law and order bullshit and
Right.
like we're gonna all tramp down on crime. But he pulled all the racist fucking Southern Democrats into being Republicans.
Oh.
As far as Oliver Stone says, I think I was watching the Secret History of the United States. I've been watching
I watched a few episodes of that.
watching a lot of fucking like a lot of that shit about the history.
I've been
of-
watching a lot of Walking Dead and like, damn, how crazy! You think racism? Let's say the world did collapse, right? And there was an apocalypse, and we
It
all
is
had to like.
collapsing. But
Well,
yeah.
let's say it was like some Walking Dead shit, and we all had to like get together and survive against some calamity. You think racism would get thrown out the door, or would still be there?
That's what's happening right now, and there's still racism. Isn't COVID some calamity?
Yeah, but the economy still works. I'm talking about like
Economy-
straight
I mean, is it?
apocalypse.
Is it? They're
No,
they're cutting
you're-
out $1 trillion
We're still talking- I'm
packages and
just
another
talking about
like.
straight apocalypse.
You're
straight-
talking about if I can't get a can of beans from the store,
and we got to stick together to survive.
we gotta stick together.
Fuck racism at that point, right? Is that what we need?
I
We
mean,
need the world to fall apart so that we
it's-
can see each other.
I would
for
argue.
human?
I would argue that it's always fuck racism, but I don't think it would be a shit ton better. Like a racist person now is going to be a racist person if he can't get a can of beans until he has some sort of shared experience or whatever that changes his mind. You're never going to change your. You know all these policy changes people are talking about. That's all well and good. It's fine, and we got to continue to try to reform the police or defund or whatever until we get to the point where we got to like axe that shit for something else because
calls the country Chaz.
until we figure out how to take people's hearts or make the ideology gray zone bigger or something, so it's not right and left. It's more like right, left, and middle.
Would you be like what's happening in Seattle in that like 6 block area that they're calling Chaz, where there's no police. It's just run by the people that are there. Think that's a good thing?
No.
I'm about reforming the police.
Nah, man,
Defunding is way out of line.
No, I don't think so. I don't think defunding's out of line because I think defunding is reforming. I think just like normal, it's a fucking messaging problem. You hear defund, you mean, let's say they have $1 million and bring them down to one. No, it's they have $1 million, bring them down to a number, and then the rest of that shit, put that toward other stuff. And then when you go to
but that's not what people. That's not what
the messaging's fucked up. But that's not what defund. Nobody's talking about taking all police away from everything.
We know
all
that,
the time.
but a lot of people that's what. But that's what's going to be the rotting of that movement is that it's not being described the right way. You know what I mean?
And why is that a problem? I mean, why isn't that why?
Because
isn't that a problem?
There's more ignorant than smart people, unfortunately.
Dog, we're gonna lose some people. I say that shit all the time. We're gonna lose some people. It's not my fucking job to get you to like read something, dog. Stop it,
bro. That's why when we have mass shootings, if we can pick the people that die, society would be better.
No, that's not. I still don't agree with that. No,
people are gonna die anyway, bro.
No, well, people are gonna die. That's true. And you know what? There's an argument for it, but I guess I'm always gonna try to not kind of. What's up with your computer, bro?
Ah, man, it's getting old. But listen, this episode is about Florida racist, and we're going to be making fun of a lot of ignorance during this episode. But before that, I want to give you some facts about Florida and racial history.
Hey world, it's Black Lives Matter or go fuck yourself. Florida is the third most populous state in the United States. Its residents include people from a wide variety of ethnic, racial, national, and religious backgrounds. The state has attracted immigrants, particularly from Latin America. Florida's majority ethnic group are European Americans, with approximately 65% of the population identifying as white. National ethnic communities in the state include Cubans, who migrated en masse following the revolution in mid-century. They have been joined by other immigrants from Latin America, and Spanish is spoken by more than 20% of the state's population, with high usage especially in the Miami-Dade County area. With a population of 18.8 million according to the 2010 census, Florida is the most populous state in the southeastern United States, and the second most populous state in the South behind Texas. Within the United States, it contains the highest percentage of people over 65, 17.3%, and the 8th fewest people under 18, 21.9%. According to the 2010 census, the racial distributions are as follows: 77.3% white, 53.5% non-Hispanic white, 16.9% African American, includes Afro-Caribbeans, 2.9% Asian American, and 0.5% Native American. 25.6% of the population are Hispanics or Latino, of any race. Florida has one of the largest African American populations in the country, and has the second highest Latino population on the East Coast outside of New York State. Its ethnic Asian population has grown rapidly since the late 1990s. The majority are Filipinos, Vietnamese, ethnic Chinese who settled in the Gulf Coast. The state has some federally recognized American Indian tribes, such as the Seminoles in the southeastern part of the state. From FloridaMemory.com. Racism and the struggle for civil rights in Florida. Florida during American racial segregation. On the night of April 4, 1968, Leon County Sheriff William P. Joyce and Florida Governor Claude Kirk stood in the streets of the state capitol. Hours before, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. had been shot and killed on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. When the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, FAMU, campus heard the news of the assassination of Dr. King, student protests broke out in the quads. Day turned into night as protests escalated into bottle throwing at passing cars and small car fires in the streets of Tallahassee. For the 10 days following the civil rights leader's death, riots broke out in over 100 American cities from San Francisco to New York, Chicago to New Orleans. Race relations in the United States had taken front and center in the public square. This exhibit of images from the Florida Memory photographic collection illustrates a brief history of racism and the struggle for civil rights in Florida. Governor Claude Kirk during Tallahassee riots following the assassination of Drive Martin Luther King, Jr. April 4, 1968. Left to right, Sheriff William P. Joyce, Governor Kirk, unidentified highway patrolman. Accompanying note, on April 4, 1968, James Earl Ray assassinated Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., civil rights activist and Nobel Peace Prize winner, in Memphis, Tennessee. In the 10 days following this tragic event, riots erupted in over 100 American cities. Up until this time, social scientists believed all rioting occurred in response to local events or dissatisfaction. This assassination proved that black awareness extended further than home boundaries. The rioting afterwards was the first time that black collective disorder was set off in response to a single, politically significant national event. Nearly a century before the modern civil rights movement, the Civil War pushed the nation into a new era ending legal human bondage. During the period of Reconstruction after the Civil War, laws were created to protect the rights of former slaves, and for the first time, all African Americans were legally permitted to own land, go to school, and run businesses. Reconstruction also marked the birth of the infamous white supremacy group, the Ku Klux Klan. After Reconstruction, Southern state legislators enacted laws segregating public spaces. Under Jim Crow, as the laws came to be known, a segregated culture enforced racial discrimination, and a tradition of legal and extra-legal violence emerged that terrorized African Americans throughout the South. In the decades following the Civil War, racism became firmly fixed in American culture.
Rally in Tampa.
Literature and a new form of popular entertainment, films, celebrated the lost cause of the Confederacy and the triumph of white culture. One example was the hugely successful and innovative 1915 Hollywood film, Birth of a Nation, which was based on a best-selling novel that romanticized the origins of the KKK.
Yeah, it did.
Blackface minstrel shows and black humor postcards showing cut and pasted African American babies in the mouths of alligators and other grotesque depictions were common. In the first half of the century, Florida led the nation with the highest number of lynchings per capita. Mobs of unmasked white men targeted and attacked Florida's black communities like OCE on November 2, 1920, and Rosewood in January of 1923. Today it's hard to understand the feeling, as W.J. Cash wrote in The Mind of the South, which, in time of stress, would seize control of the best almost as surely as the sorriest cracker. Changing post-war America. With the end of World War II in 1945, the nation was ready for change. The United States had clawed its way out of the Great Depression and had helped save the world from Hitler, Mussolini, and Tojo. But the freedoms many Americans believed the nation had fought for overseas were not realized by all at home. On May 17, 1954, the modern civil rights movement had its first major victory on the federal level with the Brown v. Board of Education decision that found the segregation of public schools unconstitutional.
Seen Shauna post about
but public
this
opinion in the nation was far from unanimous on the issue of segregation. U.S. Representative John Bell Williams, D-Miss, called the day the decision was made Black Monday. Organizations of white pro-segregationists called White Citizens Councils formed across the South to organize opposition, sometimes violent. Governors and state legislators were slow to enact integration. The modern movement takes shape. Organizations like the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, CORE, Congress of Racial Equality, SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, held rallies, marches, sit-ins, and demonstrations pressing the local and national government to give equal right to all Americans. However, it was not until the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act that the nation saw concrete changes in race relations. After the Civil Rights Act of 1964, approaching today. The Civil Rights Act was passed in 1964, nearly 100 years after the end of the Civil War. The act outlawed unequal application of voter registration requirements and racial segregation of public spaces. The combination of the Brown v. Board of Education decision, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 ended the 89-year reign of Jim Crow. Racial discrimination was finally being outlawed, but relieving American society of the burden of its racist heritage remained an ongoing struggle. Lasting changes in African American life were slow to appear, and economic degradation worsened in African American communities across the nation. Some civil rights activists became radicalized amidst the turbulent political climate of the 1960s and 1970s. Meanwhile, white supremacist groups remained active as well, despite the historic achievements of the civil rights movement in the United States. The modern civil rights movement is often said to have begun in 1954 with the Brown v. Board of Education Supreme Court decision and ended with the death of Martin Luther King, Jr., in 1968. However, the movement did not appear out of thin air. Just as the struggle for civil rights began decades before the most celebrated marches, boycotts, and moments of triumph, its example left an enduring legacy of aspiration and progress toward freedom for all Americans that lives on today.
I want you guys...
Aspiration.
So
trying to get there. We ain't there.
When you drive through a lot of these old towns like Kissimmee, St. Cloud, that they still have the original courthouses.
Yep.
A lot of those trees in front of those courthouses were used to hang men.
Yep.
A lot of these beaches that we go to, Miami Beach, Daytona Beach, you know, these famous clear water, you weren't allowed. They were like totally separate. Like this is a picture of these whites trying to form like a blockade to prevent blacks
Can you imagine
from swimming in St.
being
Augustine.
so upset that somebody's going to jump in your water? your water, your ocean water.
You know,
It's already crazy that we as people get charged for water. You're charging me for water. But to say I can't jump in the ocean, can you imagine?
yeah. So this is all stuff that happened 40, 50, 75 years ago. But the thing is that it's still happening today.
Of course.
So some of these clips are of ignorant people
Yes.
in Florida
Yes.
living their best life.
This is definitely, that should be like the trailer to our podcast. Ignorant people in
At
Florida.
6, a Central
living
Florida
their best-
company is facing a racial discrimination lawsuit.
Let's do
And
it.
It's all because of one photo. And we want to show you the photo we're talking about. It appears to show a company supervisor wearing a hood with the letters KKK written on it. He's
This guy has
also
too
holding
much
what
time
looks
on his
like
hand.
a cross with a flaming rag on top of it. News 6 investigator Mike DeForest first began looking into this issue last year. He is now live outside Gencor Industries in Orlando. And Mike, the employee who took these pictures, say that the company is now retaliating against him.
That's right. John Shipley was a
right by
temp
my house.
employee here at Gencor Industries. In this newly filed racial discrimination lawsuit, Shipley is claiming he was improperly fired after he complained about this photo of his supervisor.
Get down, that's how I get down on my spray game. You know.
John Shipley says he'd been working as a painter at Gencor Industries for only about a month when his supervisor entered the paint booth looking like this.
And I turned around and I see this guy standing here in a hood, and he has KKK written on the hood. And he has in his hand a cross, and it's on fire.
Shipley says the cross was made of paint sticks taped together with a flaming rag placed on top. The hood is used for protection during sandblasting.
He told me to get my A over here right now. I'm going to
Are those teardrops?
Yeah.
F you up.
So Shipley snapped this photo, which he says he promptly shared with upper management at Gencor. According to Shipley, the company immediately reassigned him and 4 other minority temp workers to the night shift. Then, 3 months later, he claims Gencor eliminated those night shift
Of
painters,
course.
putting him out of a job. Late last year, Shipley notified the federal agency that investigates workplace discrimination. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission was unable to conclude whether there were any violations of the statutes
What about the
governing
picture?
workers' rights. So now Shipley has filed this lawsuit against Gencor Industries, accusing the publicly traded company of racial discrimination and retaliation.
Who plays like that on the job as a manager?
An attorney representing the company tells News 6, quote, Gencor believes that EEOC dismissal of Mr. Shipley's claims was appropriate and looks forward to its day in court.
We're looking forward to our day in court.
Now, the supervisor in this photo, Jeff Crandall, left Gencor Industries a few months after we first reported about Shipley's allegations. Now, we don't know yet whether he resigned or terminated. Crandall told me in a phone call last year that he acknowledged making a mistake, but he said that this incident was, quote, all in good fun and that it was just a joke. Ginger?
Mike DeForest reporting.
It was all in good fun.
You know, people say shit like, "Oh, I was just joking." Where's the punchline? Hit me with the
The
punchline.
funniest part about this is the fucking costume that the guy put together.
No, the worst-
It's so half-assed.
The worst. I be like, hold on, take a picture of this. That's a terrible costume. I just know what you're trying to do.
I get
Like,
it.
where's the joke? Come over here, I'm gonna beat your ass. You're just being racist, you know, for the sake of being racist. And the problem is, it's like, okay, people like, you can just forget that, just let that go. First of all, no, the fuck I can't, but because that's not micro racism right there. That I do.
Nah,
with.
that's blatant racism.
That's overt as fuck, right?
And for them to transfer the African Americans workers to the night shift and then get rid of the night shift, and it was clearly only, yeah.
And it's super obvious too, but that's the thing. Some people
I don't like saying African American.
Okay, why?
It's like I don't even like calling. I guess because you gotta like label shit,
You don't like saying black either?
and they all make me feel uncomfortable.
Well,
It's
again,
like person,
for
him, but for context, context.
Sometimes you got to, right?
Yeah.
If you're describing somebody, you can say he was a dark-skinned male.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel better. I don't think that's going to make you feel better.
You get what I'm saying? Like, all those terms and
Well, just because it can be used in a negative way. Because, like, you don't always need to tell people are black or whatever.
Right.
And sometimes people just do it for no reason.
Yeah.
And then you get into the questions of, like, well, why are you saying that he's black? Has nothing to do with it. You know, I was walking up at the gas station. There were these two guys there, and they started, like, talking to me. And there was, like, this black guy and this Asian dude. And they were talking to me about, like, going to the club later.
Yeah.
And and you're like, well.
I just think it should be like, oh, what are you? Oh, you know, I'm Colombian, or I'm American, or I'm from...
But it never matters,
South.
though, is the thing.
It doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't.
So when it comes up, I can see, but it doesn't.
It only comes up when we're discussing racism.
It's not true. Like I just said, people put it in all the time, and those are the people that usually have some sort of issue. Even if they aren't racist, they have an issue. Like I know a person that is always going to tell you that the black person is a good guy. Always. Unless he's not a good guy, but
To not be confrontational.
No, just because I guess at some level he feels like black people aren't good people, but this person is a good guy. Like I know, like my friend so and so came over across the street and they hung out in the parking lot.
I guess he's a good
but
guy.
He's a good guy, blah, 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 blah. Or or he's well spoken or whatever. It's like that's racist too.
Yeah,
and people don't think it is. People are almost saying you're one of the good ones or not you, type shit,
no, totally. It's really condescending.
So when people say to me like this right here, it says, he isn't hurting anybody. He's just joking. It's just a joke. Because you're black, I'm going to be a KKK Klansman. Right? And even if I thought that was funny, the problem is you're obviously got some sort of prejudice against me because of the hue of my skin, how dark it is, and you're in charge of me. I always say, man, you can be racist as you want, dog, but you just can't be in charge of shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go be racist. Dog, do it.
Yeah.
You can go flip burgers at Burger King and be racist as you feel like.
Well, there's a thing too, maybe
I
not
don't want you
their
being governor.
age group, but I think when
President.
we were growing up, I went to school in Florida, and I never felt like I knew there was underlying prejudice, right? But if I had a black friend or a Spanish friend or an Asian friend, and we would throw racial epithets at each other, it wasn't really disrespectful. It was just on some like, oh, fuck you, fuck you, spick, fuck you, whatever. You know what I mean? Our generation, you know what I mean? There's like some joking going on there, but there is a line there. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess the joking around with your friends is common, you know what I mean? And even comforting to some level where you can be like a white dude and say nigga, and you can be
Well, if you're I think 25 and under, it's okay. For all y'all, like all of Danny's friends.
That's a bigger argument. But what I'm saying is,
well, not okay on our side, but to them, it's okay. To their age group,
again, it depends on who you talk to. It's a big argument, especially the people who are like walking in the protest right now. What I was trying to say was that, shit, I lost it.
the line between like when
It's
it
even a
becomes
little
disrespectful.
comforting when you to some people where they're allowed to do whatever, but the problem is like that's not the real world when you're doing it with you and your friends. There's the real world again when there's a boss out there who thinks the same way you guys are joking about, and it's more implications toward me as the nigga or whatever than it is to you as the spick or the other the
Asian kid,
whatever, you know what I mean? So you guys are joking, that's cool. You guys are cool and comfortable around each other, but take that same thing to a professional atmosphere, to a government building, to whatever. Those thoughts are still there, but they ain't joking. He says he's joking, but the shit ain't a joke.
Yeah.
You know, it's move you to another shift for 3 months and then get rid of that shift so you don't complain anymore about this racist piece of shit right here.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's gone is because it's on the fucking news. And then a few months later, now he's gone. Just like the only reason there's a Black Lives Matter banner on Amazon is because of the shit going on, or just because the only reason the NFL is saying that they're wrong about the kneeling shit is because of the shit right there. The same fucking reason, by the way, why the goddamn anthem's part of the NFL anyway is because of some money shit. It's just everybody feels like we're gonna do this. The NFL or the United States military pays that thing, so they do the national anthem stuff. So it's just a popular or lucrative thing.
Should we get rid of the national anthem?
Sure. Who gives a fuck about the national anthem?
Ooh, that's crazy.
Like, really? That racist ass shit. And I'm supposed
It
to like
is
really
racist,
care about it.
But it's like, are we America anymore then?
What do you mean, are we America? Is America that
It's
song?
no longer. It'll be something different. It'll be America, but it'll be something different. Just the same way when we revolted against the British.
Bro, do it or don't do it. It's not like, I'm not saying you have to like get rid of the national anthem. I'm just saying it's inconsequential. It doesn't matter.
It does. If we get rid of the national anthem, we're no
Doesn't
longer
really matter.
that America. We're a new America.
No.
Not saying that's bad or good. You know what I mean?
I don't necessarily think so. Sure, you can. You already fixed it in a way that you got rid of that third verse. So, okay, you change it again to change the words. Okay, what does that do? Nothing. Nothing for me. Just like the murals don't do anything for me.
I think
just like the shit on Amazon doesn't do
think
anything
for
me.
If things like that changed,
It's not a change
I
of
think
what?
because we're admitting that it's wrong
Wait, psh.
and we're evolving past something new.
You're not evolving. How are you evolving? Just because you
We're
got rid of
changing.
that's
It's
not
a
a change.
change.
It's fake, bro. It's fake. It's not a real change. The shit on Amazon, the NFL saying they're wrong about kneeling, the Black Lives murals everywhere.
I think
it's
the national
all
anthem is a little different because
surface
you say
level
it
bullshit.
in school as a little kid, and if that changes and you plant those seeds into those kids
Nah,
in the
man.
elementary, they look, hey, the reason why we changed the song is because it was racist. I think that
Sure, but
I
it's
think
still
that's important.
it's positive. I'll give you positive. Importance too much. I think it's inconsequential. I think it's surface level, and I think when you start actually changing shit in that school you're talking about, if that kid that is talking about how Black Lives Matter now and the national anthem isn't a thing because of how racist the beginning of the country was or how racist the country is now.
Well, the writer of
as
the
long as
song-
that person, the French guy,
Yeah.
as long as that song is being played on 4 12-inch beautiful speakers and there's a plasma screen because that fucking school has the right allocation of funds and 50% of the budget of that city isn't going toward law enforcement. And, you know, as long as all of that shit is right, as long as structurally all of that shit is happening too, then cool. But if you're just going to get rid of the national anthem or you're just going to tell me Black Lives Matter, then I don't give a fuck, bro. I don't give a fuck how much you tell me any of this bullshit because since 1865, we're supposed to be free, but not till, or 1863, we're supposed to be free. But not till 1865 where everybody technically free. And then 100 years later in 1964, now we got civil rights. But now it's 2020 and we still got the shit happening. So you could tell me the shit all you feel like. But to me, painting Black Lives Matter, putting a banner on the Amazon fucking website, giving me a Netflix section that says raising black voices, all of it is horse shit. Surface level horse shit. At the end of the day, it's positive. I will give you that. It plants the seeds of thought in people's heads. I will give you that for sure. But at the end of the day, in 1865, when people were like, damn, it took 2 years for everybody to not be slaves, there was a seed of thought in their head that like something's wrong.
Well, I didn't even know it was a racist song until I heard it from
The third verse?
Well, I didn't know the whole story period
Okay.
of that until I got hip to revolution shit. I think, through hip hop. And then
Right.
that opened the door through Black Revolution for me, and then that's how I discovered things like that. You know what I mean?
There's so much of that. SWAT team, the first time a SWAT team was used was on the Black Panthers. First time ever.
Yeah,
First thing the police were for was the slave patrol. Like
yeah.
the 13th Amendment, like all of that shit is just, it's deep in there, ingrained. And it just like the regular ass, this is a joke and it's just funny. Fuck all of that. I hear you, but to me it's,
Fuck a Gen Core.
the problem with that is, yes, fuck a Gen Core, but the way we have shit, again, structurally, the way we have shit set up, it's their job to do that.
Yeah.
Like they have to do that. They have to protect the company at all costs because that's the law. So if they want to follow the law, then they can't just fire that dude for something that's technically not illegal, right? So they gotta like separate them. But then now we don't need these people. Plus they're probably gonna make trouble. But it's not illegal, but it's protecting the company.
I think it was stupid to fire them.
I think they should just fire the dude or gave him some training.
Yeah.
Made him work more. You know, again, you can't just like policy out racism.
Yeah.
You really can't. You got to give people shared experiences. You got to they have to change their own mind, but you got to help them change their mind. So I don't know if it's a re-education or how that works. Or you just say fuck them.
To a mass shooting.
I just was like, wow.
That was 18-year-old Erin Williams' first thought when she opened the Snapchat post.
You think that this happens in other cities and states, and it's just like, no, this is right here in your hometown, the school that you go to, the boy that you know.
That boy, a classmate of hers at Riverview High School in Sarasota, is seen holding this sign for a promposal.
Wait,
This
is it for her?
Another thing about we were talking.
Wait, was it for her?
Yeah.
He was asking her out.
Yeah.
The girl up on the screen just now.
He was being condescending.
No, hold on. He was he wasn't asking her.
He was asking her, but he was doing it not with the intention of really getting her. He was being rude about it.
Okay, so he really wasn't, but he was really a black. Okay.
The thing is that we were talking when we first started the episode of, can a racist be classy? Can they be witty? Can they be Dave Chappelle-esque to at least make it like an intellectual, racist moment? Can we stop talking about picking cotton? Like, can we come up with better races?
Like something more topical?
It's so simple and ignorant and
Right.
stupid
Right.
that it just makes you look even stupider. You're trying to make fun of them,
Right.
but you look dated and like retarded. Like, who taught you this? Your grandfather? Like,
Right.
you can't come up with a better way of offending somebody. Like, that's what I mean about, I don't believe that racist people could be classy, but there might be an anomaly of a person that's
There's
just
tons.
witty.
There's tons, bro. If you're talking about like the society's Antoinette, fucking just like the hoity-toities.
Yeah.
There's racist people that are on the higher echelon of the
I
world.
gotta find some,
And they
because
throw
the
classy
majority of
parties
the
all the
time
time.
it's just ignorant ass people like this. It's like, yo, you're not even that funny, bro.
Nah, bro, it's a different type of racism, man. Like I said, it's deep, it's intricate, it's nuanced in certain places of the world, including levels of the government and
I want to
CEOs
finish
of
playing
companies and
this,
stuff like that.
and I want you to ask. I want to ask you: do you think that he was just being funny? Obviously, he's racist, but
Do you think he was just joking?
no, was he trying to be funny, offensive, or was he just trying to be offensive and corny?
Okay.
Unique way asking a girl to go to prom with them, but the message was anything but romantic. It reads, "If I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but I'm white, so I'm picking you for prom."
He thought it was a joke, and it's not funny. It's not something that should be joked around with.
The Sarasota County School District agrees. Counselors were brought in to talk
Like,
to
it's
students
really
about
not
the post.
funny.
The district
It's like-
says the 18-year-old senior could face disciplinary punishment. Students say the post is a distraction on what should be a highlight of their high school years.
It does put a damper on things, but I think that it's made us closer as a class. In 2018, it's made us closer. It's made us realize that we don't deserve that. We don't deserve to be through that, being black or white. It's not acceptable.
The student did issue an apology on Snapchat, saying this was a joke that went way too far. Again, the administration is investigating, and there could be some sort of disciplinary action that is taken against that student. In Sarasota County, Kimberly Quizon, Fox 13 News.
Someone needs to teach this kid.
The NAACP chapter of Sarasota is asking the school district to not let the team back in any high school in the county.
Oh, come on. I don't know about that.
It wasn't funny though.
No, it wasn't funny at all.
It
Like
was,
objectively, it wasn't funny.
Yeah,
the
that's what
punchline
I'm
wasn't
saying.
funny.
It's like,
Whereas
what
it was,
you
but it was
do?
more of a punchline than that other dude. The other dude didn't have a
sure.
punchline. This guy at least had the setup, and then he was like, da 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 da, and everybody was like, But I don't think he should be like kicked out of school for that.
just like put in a
He's
class.
a kid, There's a kid.
Yeah.
He didn't shoot any or beat anybody up. it was messed up, and I believe maybe somebody his age should have whooped his ass, maybe, but
And he definitely heard that from his parents or some type of. I mean,
Maybe.
that whole thing picking cotton is just an older.
maybe that's like, again, that's the easy one that you hear all the time.
Yeah.
But don't let him back into any school, I think, is a bit much. Me personally, and I'm always wrong for shit like this, and I'm probably gonna catch flack, but I just like, I put him in the fucking class with everybody. I guess they don't really have classes like that anymore, but they don't have all black classes anymore. But I don't know. Maybe I send him to the district with mostly black students, and just because, like, after a week of that, you're gonna love everybody. I don't think you're gonna. I think the most racist people, when immersed in culture that they hate, end up loving it. Like almost every movie you've seen, The Last Samurai, or I know it's a movie, so that's probably stupid to say, but I'm sure there's real situations,
Examples of that, yeah.
of real life situations where people hate people. Machine Gun Preacher is one. He was a racist meth dealing biker who ended up going to Africa to build villages for starving children. You know, shit like that happens all the time because you don't know what you don't know until you're like indoctrinated. Next thing you know, you got a black wife.
Yeah.
Some mixed kids.
I guess you really have to leave room for people to change. There's always a
You got to try. And I'm super bad at that because I am quick to, in the moment, say fuck that and fuck them. But then, you know, you step back like this kid here. He might not be a bad guy. He's just he made a tasteless joke, and they probably like was sitting around with his friends, and they said it, and they thought it was funny. You know what you should do?
Young too, you could sympathize with being young and
oh, for
ignorant.
sure, a
When
little
you're
bit.
old and dumb and ignorant, and it's like you're
Literally,
a lost cause.
like even him being 18
Send
kind
him
of
to
makes
the mass shooting.
Him being 18 even like kind of makes me want to like write him off. But I'm doing better. You know, I used to say 14. Once you get past 14, it's helpless. But I don't know.
No.
Fuck yeah, man.
You got at least till you're 30.
Nah, man. Oh, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
30 years old? You can give somebody till they're 30 to change?
A lot of people in their 20s are still ignorant.
30. No, I'll
You're
forgive
still
somebody.
learning how to have sex in your 20s.
I'll forgive somebody for sure, but like you're not.
Even like your taste in women change.
For
you
sure.
know what I mean? You evolve past ignorance and
No, but I think it's useless to try to teach somebody anything past the age of 14 and try to change your mind about anything. Just you're wasting your time.
yeah. Maybe.
Well, he got 8 months in prison, but keep in mind it was the excuse he gave
Another
the judge
one.
for why he did what he did that probably didn't help his cause. It was a rampage of hate, prosecutors say, was spawned by convicted felon David Howard. They were meant to terrorize his new neighbor, Ali Kardabai, and his family.
It shook us to our heart, you know, and we are still recovering from that trauma.
It was November of 2016. Ali and his wife were set to buy this home on Davis Islands. They had one final walkthrough with the seller when suddenly hostile neighbor David Howard marched across the street and began spewing hate, threats, and intimidation. According to court documents, Howard yelled, quote, "This sale will not take place," and cursed at them, and then threatened to break all the windows and burn down the house. He added, quote, "You are not welcome here." Ali had never experienced this kind of hate.
We as Americans, we need to respect each other, irrespective of our caste, color, creed, and religion.
Earlier this year, Howard pled guilty to violating housing rights. At his sentencing in federal court, Howard told the judge the drugs made him do it.
Oh, of
Quote,
course.
"It's the combination of medications.
Blame it on the
I'm dying of
drugs."
AIDS." This is classic roid rage. He went on to apologize to the victims,
He
adding,
said everything's
"I'm not
fucked
racist."
up.
But the judge rejected
Yo.
his roid rage excuse and
Yo,
instead
he's like, it's
placed
the
all
drugs. I got AIDS and roid rage. By the way, I'm not racist. Fucking
on
AIDS
Howard
drugs
and his
had him
racist
going.
Behavior. She sentenced him to 8 months in prison. Ali walked out of court with his attorney
Shouldn't have been
with a
going to
sense of
prison.
relief.
Why'd he go to prison?
That was a threat. He's gonna burn down the house.
Shouldn't
That's
go to
a
prison, dog.
nah.
It's part of the problem. This is part of the
idle
problem.
threat.
This is back to the.
What if they didn't put him in prison? He burns down the guy's house.
I didn't say let him go or whatever. I'm just saying
Just
like
probation.
he doesn't know. Who is he in prison with? How is it helping him? Is he getting better in there?
Yeah, I guess that's a lesson learned. He definitely knew he fucked up when I'm not racist.
No, yeah, for sure. But he still has that, so he needs to be. And I fill in the blank there, but I don't think going to jail with somebody who, and what is it? Prison, 8 months. Is he in prison? Is he there in where murderers and shit?
No, I think it'd be still jail because it's. I think 3 years you have to go to prison. I'm not sure.
Hey man, it just seems like
he's gonna be in a cell for sure.
I think he would also benefit from maybe the sentence is going to this guy's home country and having to live for 8 months on some drachma or whatever the fuck. For real.
Yeah.
I think cultural indoctrination.
Education.
I'm not trying to like make you believe their religion or no shit like that, but like
learn about other people.
It's just a person like you are. Relax, and you're not allowed cars or
maybe a whole lot of community service.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what they should do with people like this.
Hey man, that's
serve your community, motherfucker.
Well, that's why.
Or get sentenced to a mass shooting.
Yeah, you're still coming. We're not doing that, Pete.
I'm sorry?
These
what are you trying to say?
These next videos are all neighborhood racist and
Karens
not allowing. Well,
hashtag Karen.
They're
Hold
Karen
on, real quick though. Sorry, are we gonna get any people of color saying fucked up shit against white people? Are we doing that today?
No.
Why not? That's. I mean, it's not racism.
Sort of.
It's not racism, but it's still
sort of
equal opportunity, bro.
We might do another episode.
All racists matter.
I don't know if I consider that racism.
No, it's not. Technically, it's not because
it's like more like prejudice.
It is prejudice. It absolutely is, and I hate distinguishing between the two because essentially it's the same at the level we're talking about it. Because when we're talking about at least this type of racism with your neighbor, it's not systemic. It's not necessarily because she has so much power over you. She may think she does, but it's not because the judge is putting down something or the president is putting down something. It's just some so it's kind of like I hate distinguishing in those moments because that lady could be black and the person holding the camera could be white. In that instance, so it is prejudice. So
I don't think you really
can see
like let's say some white dude moves into like Pine Hills, Perrymore, Overtown, wherever. I don't think it's the same kind of.
I think it happens.
I think you just get robbed or like punched.
No, see that's racist.
If you're in a minority, like lower class neighborhood, they deal with not always, but it gets dealt different. She's gonna be putting her finger, blah blah blah. But if you show up to some,
but I'm saying it's racist for you to assume that these reverse scenarios would happen in a different neighborhood.
You're right. I shouldn't assume, but it just doesn't happen. You don't see it as much.
You don't see it on camera as much. It happens.
You think it happens?
I know it happens. I've done it. I've been the motherfucker in the car cussing out the white dude with the camera at not a camera at me, but cussing out the white dude because.
But you were in a predominantly black neighborhood when it happened.
I didn't check everybody's. The neighborhood I live in is a mixed neighborhood right now.
Yeah, but this is like.
At least I think it is, but I haven't checked.
I don't want you here type of deal. I don't think that happens so much.
Right, but that's kind of the theory with a lot of people with like Black Wall Street and like fucking those kind of things. Like they want a black barber and a black grocer and a black banker and a black everything, black and or Spanish everything or and all clustered together. It's kind of the same thinking of like if I was a white dude to go be a dentist in that Black Wall Street.
That's true.
They wouldn't they wouldn't want me there.
I guess it would be more true if everything was actually equal.
Exactly. So the reason that's not a problem for there to be a Black Wall Street because we're trying to get upward mobility, we're trying to get equal or whatever.
And whenever there was a successful black neighborhood, here comes the white people to burn it
down. But what I'm saying is that's the reason you don't see it as much is because that's the fear of the white man, right? Is that the people will get to that power and then do the same thing that was done to them. But that's generally not what happens. Now, I've been that not because you need to get out of here, just because you're doing something here that you shouldn't be doing. But you don't generally see that happen because the thing that happens to the oppressed isn't necessarily what they would do as the oppressor. They wouldn't be the oppressor generally. At least that's theory, but we won't know anytime soon.
Wow.
But maybe one day we'll see what happens. Because I mean,
Yeah,
1,000 years from now,
it turns around.
It might be some weird like. You remember when
when we were the
we
minority,
were- right.
and now we're the majority.
Majority, yeah.
Can't throw away the trash?
You can't throw away your trash in our bins.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Could you please leave me alone or I'll call the police? You're harassing me. You are harassing me. Thank you.
That's a good. That laugh. She knew. It was like, yeah, go ahead.
911.
Okay, I will.
She's really not being that aggressive either. She's like,
Got a racist lady
I
here.
hate you.
That's
Yeah.
a big mistake on your part.
Oh, okay. Call. Look. Throwing away the trash. You know, you're going to be instantly famous. Hi. You're going to be instantly famous. You know that, young lady? Come on.
Young lady.
Here, let me close the door for you. See how much of a gentleman I'm being for you? Florida. You're excused.
She got that
What's
stomach
your
sweat
name?
going.
What are you doing
Please. You're excused, ma'am.
Do you
You're
work
harassing me. You are harassing me. I will call the police
Call the
if you don't
police.
leave.
I'm not making
Okay.
that threat.
Call the
Thank you.
police.
I don't make the
What is
police
your name?
threat because I don't want the police called.
Show me your license. Do you live here?
Show me your license.
Show me yours.
Right? Exactly.
Show
Fuck
me
you,
yours and
lady.
I'll show
Sorry.
mine.
Wow.
Mad
This is Florida,
stain on the
folks.
shirt.
It's getting bigger the longer this interaction happens. That nervous belly sweat.
Yeah. Here
Dirty
we go,
ass.
Martha.
She need to get that
We have to pay
Zero
extra
that belt
for
change.
people to come clean
Okay.
out.
And we pay extra too. All right. Why do you don't think I live here? Because of the way I look?
Because
Why?
until 2 weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
I was president of the Homeowners Association. And to my knowledge, I know everybody who lives here.
Okay.
Yeah, who lives there?
That's the only
So
thing.
why did
Who lives
you
right there?
assume that I don't live here
Who lives
because you
over
don't know me?
Because there's only 42
Huh?
buildings.
Only 42 buildings. You knew every single person in 42 buildings?
Where do you live?
Huh? Do you know every single person in 42 buildings, ma'am? Thank you very much. I rest my case. Do me a favor. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stop with the fake laugh and just go.
Fake laugh.
It's not a fake. I'm really laughing. It's really funny.
We have this happen all the
Okay?
time.
Dude, where do you live?
I feel sorry for you.
You're wrong.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, you got a dash.
Have a good day. Racist people at the best. Here in Florida.
Imagine caring how much people threw some shit in the trash can and gets picked up by somebody else.
What happened?
Imagine caring so much about public trash cans that somebody has. He's not up there like with a mattress and.
I think it's fuck the trash. She just wants to be confrontational. She wants to, that's the excuse, so she doesn't look racist. But she's there to question him on what are you doing in my neighborhood. That's the bottom line that she's trying to get at.
For sure. But imagine being so upset about the trash.
Yeah.
And like making it such an issue.
But that's what all these Karens do. It's not really the issue. They just want to be confrontational.
For
you
sure.
know what I mean?
Why are you
that's
cooking your
that's what
food
makes
here?
it so stupid and funny because it's like I can't barbecue here. My daughter can't sell water here.
Right.
I can't
So
live in this
remember
neighborhood.
the part we were talking about before we were recording about me going and making sure it was all good, and the part where I said I shouldn't have to. Wouldn't it have been easier for him to just tell her where he lived?
But he's not growing weed in a
Neither am I.
basement.
Neither am I.
Technically, you're not.
Right.
But it looks that way.
It doesn't matter. It looks like to her that he's doing something wrong when he's literally not doing anything
Okay,
wrong.
if he was climbing out of a window, then she would have a even though she was racist, there's a suspicion of something going wrong there.
Right, but
if he's just walking in the neighborhood, no, you can't. He's
Right.
just walking in the neighborhood.
Right.
But if you see him coming out of a window with a TV,
Mm-hmm.
or if you see him with some chemical-looking things that might be meth,
Right.
Or you still should have suspicion because it happens.
And exactly. So, and then to this point, once I tell this person that I'm not whoever they think I am, it should be over.
It should be over. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely, absolutely.
So,
But if it's like,
but wouldn't
cop,
it be easier for him to just give her the information she's asking for?
It's different because he's really not doing anything but throwing trash.
And
out.
neither am I.
Technically.
Not technically, literally. and technically.
Well, because the law just passed, but
doesn't matter.
Because
Doesn't matter.
It
Doesn't
looks,
matter.
It looks similar.
Doesn't matter.
It looks similar.
She's wrong. He doesn't have to give her ID because she's wrong.
It's different.
This person would be wrong. I don't need to go and do his job ahead of time and make it fine. It's the same thing. He shouldn't have to, so he didn't.
He shouldn't have to because there's no grand assumption. And first of all, we're talking about a police officer, not some regular lady.
Yeah.
The police officer's
What I'm
job
talking about
is to investigate possible crimes.
Right.
If you look like you're doing a crime, then there's probable cause for me to at least investigate.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
No, and that's fine. But the part where you're talking about I should go out and do something to make it easier on myself later, wouldn't it be easier?
You're talking about growing hemp at your house.
Mm-hmm.
Hemp was just legalized. So when you called
Almost 2 years ago.
when you called the county's office, they weren't hip to the laws yet.
Right.
Completely their fault.
No, he
and
wasn't.
ignorance.
He's completely hip to the laws. It's about like the zoning law part of it, but completely hip to the
Regardless,
law.
he's not fully educated on the matter.
Right.
And they should
also
be.
not my fault.
You're right about all of that.
That's the part I'm talking to you that is the same as this right here. He's right. It would be easier for him just to give him the ID and where he lives, and then she can walk away. It would be easier to do that, but he doesn't have to. He shouldn't have to.
If she was a law enforcement
Still
officer,
shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to, but why?
And isn't the law for him to
Why
either?
not avoid the problem?
Because he shouldn't have to.
I get
Because
all
if
that.
he was white,
You're
wouldn't
right,
have
but
to.
why bring more problems onto you?
Because he shouldn't have to. It's the same thing when you say if he didn't resist or if he didn't talk back to the cop.
No,
it
that's-
wouldn't. Yes, it is.
No.
It's
I
the same thing.
I get the resisting and talking back.
It's the same thing here, and it's the same thing for me and the other thing. If I'm right, I'm right. Yeah, it'd be easier and be less stress on this guy. Wouldn't have to have his phone out.
It's different because she's not a cop. She has no authority.
Neither does the cop in that instance.
Yes, that's
no, he
their
doesn't.
job.
If you're not doing anything illegal, there's no authority there to enforce what? What are you enforcing if there's nothing illegal? What's the problem? Why are we having this conversation?
It looks like you're doing something illegal.
What does that mean, even? What does it look like? Once it's established what it is,
You
then
have
that's it.
plants that look like marijuana.
Okay.
With lights.
Okay.
Growing in your house.
And I have the certificate right here.
I understand that.
Your government that you work for says it's fine.
But he's still allowed to approach and see the certificate.
I didn't say he wasn't allowed to.
That's all I'm saying.
I said I don't have.
She shouldn't be allowed.
I said I don't have to go and make sure it's fine ahead of time, and I don't have to be.
I
don't
never
have
said
to
you have to.
Yes, you did. You said I should.
Yes, that's different than have to.
Okay, true, but I shouldn't have to, right? So the same exact logic of not just pulling your ID, or your driver's license out or answering her question about where I live. It's the same exact logic that I'm working with that situation. Fuck you, bro. Either learn the law or quit your job. You is none of your business. Kick rocks.
Thompson, when the military goes into a company and occupies it, they're not supposed to be there, but guess what? This is the situation now. There's gray areas in rules all the time. There's right and wrong. But whoever holds the authority is technically right at the situation until you can prove
Yeah, but the cops work
you're
for me.
right. But it's their authority over you.
No, they don't have authority over me.
Of course they do.
No,
They're
they don't.
police
No,
officers,
they have
yes.
authority to enforce the law.
Yes, and if
the
you
law's
look
on my
like you're
side.
breaking
And
the
the law's
law,
on my side.
They at least have to
And
investigate
they can.
it.
I don't need to go somewhere ahead of time and make sure that they understand that they're not.
I
that the
never
laws.
said you had to.
I shouldn't have to go ahead of time.
I'm telling you this so you avoid.
He doesn't have to tell her. It avoids all
It's
sorts of shit.
completely different.
It's the same theory,
No,
bro.
she has no authority.
Neither does the cop. He enforces the law.
Yes, that's his
So
authority.
he knows the law. So when he comes into my door,
If it
he should
looks
know
like
the law.
you're breaking the law, he has to investigate
He
it.
should know the law. Once that's it. That's it. You're talking about being arrested and taking to the
'Cause
lawyer.
that could happen.
It shouldn't happen if you know the law.
It could.
It would save me time, but I shouldn't have to. It would
That's
save
all
him
I'm
time.
saying.
It would save him time.
Nobody told you you're wrong.
But he shouldn't. I know I'm not wrong. It would
It's
save
not the
him
same
time,
thing.
but he shouldn't have
It's
to.
not the same thing.
That part of it is exactly the same, Peens. It is exactly
It's
the same.
the context of her not having
that
any
part
authority.
That part of it that I'm talking about is exactly the same.
It's
Him not
different
pulling out
because
this and me not driving
It's
to the
different because this is clearly a racial thing. And if you were a white guy doing the same thing, the cop would still approach you and investigate. No, it would still happen.
the interaction would go 1,000% different depending on the person.
That's a completely different argument.
No, this is the same thing. That's why this is here. That's why this says racist question mark. It's the same thing.
It's a completely different argument.
It's the same thing.
If you were a white guy growing hemp in your garage and a cop drove by and it looked like marijuana, the cop would still get out and investigate. Would
and that interaction,
yes,
interaction would go
but
different.
that's a different argument.
It's the same. We're talking about race. This whole episode's about race. You can't be a different argument.
You threw the weed thing in as an
because
example.
I didn't throw the weed thing in. I threw the not driving my ass down to the police station and giving a heads up.
I would tell the white guy to do the same thing.
The heads up, that has nothing to do with it. What I'm saying is that's the part that is the same as that part. Not pulling the ID out of his wallet and me not driving to the police station is the same thing. I shouldn't have to. He shouldn't have to. If he had just pulled it out and said, yes, I live right here, 42B, that's it. It's easy. He shouldn't have to. If I go and drive to the police station and give them a heads up, that's it. That's the end of it. I got the number of the guy. If the cop comes up and asks me, I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. It's easy, right?
You're just taking preventive measures.
I shouldn't have to.
Nobody
and I'm not,
has to do anything,
and
Thompson. It's about avoiding.
He shouldn't have to.
It's okay. So then you shouldn't get insurance on your house.
I believe I shouldn't.
So when the hurricane comes and knocks your house off.
When does that happen?
No, it's not legal. You don't need insurance in your house.
That makes
But you're taking preventive measures to protect yourself.
I don't legally have to buy insurance.
No, you don't. You absolutely don't. But you buy it to protect yourself. It's a preventive measure.
So I don't have to have car insurance.
Well, that you do in Florida. You at least have to have PPD. That's a law. That's mandated.
That's why I buy. The only reason I paid for my insurance for my home is because it was part of I had to buy insurance. I thought.
But if a hurricane comes and knocks it down, aren't you going to be glad that the
what
insurance
hurricane?
will cut? I'm just saying, if those big ass trees in your backyard, one of them falls and breaks into your roof, aren't you happy that you had insurance?
No, I had insurance for my fucking AC. It didn't matter. I had insurance for the shit in my attic. It didn't matter. The insurance doesn't mean shit. Only reason I paid for it. Only reason I paid for insurance because I thought I had to. If I don't have to, I may think about not having it because how many times does a hurricane come over and do anything?
I'm telling you from
0 out of
personal
times.
experience, I have the greatest insurance coverage. And every time, for example, I'll give you an example. I own 4 units on the beach, okay? A hurricane hit the basin wall, and because of so much weather impact, the rebar in the concrete went bad, and the association got together and said, we need to reface that wall. It's going to cost $600,000. I don't want to pay that money, but I have to because the association said so. I had an insurance policy that I paid extra for that said in the event that there's a catastrophic damage to the building, we will take care of any assessments. Because I had that insurance policy, I didn't have to come out of pocket. I took preventive measures. I read my policy, understood what I was signing up for, and I knew my protections. Yeah. So because I made those preventive decisions, now I am covered when something bad happens. So all it is, you don't have to do it.
But what if without you doing that at all, you were already covered?
That's not going to happen.
That's what this is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. I'm already on the right side of the law. He already lives there. I'm already covered. Already.
I can't. I understand what you're saying, but this is different because she has no authority.
The whole thing is different, but the part I'm talking about, the little part about me, again, him pulling out and saying this, he shouldn't have to, so he didn't, and I shouldn't have to, so I don't.
But there's no major repercussion from her.
Again, that's what makes it not the same because that part of it's not the same,
and that's all I'm arguing. That's all I'm arguing.
And again, the whole time,
the bullshit you got to deal with.
Fuck all of that. If I right here, I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong, so I'm not going to pull out my ID and show that to the thing, or he's not going to show that to her because fuck her. And why would I waste the time to go?
There's no repercussions for it.
Fuck her. And why would I waste my time to go down there? Fuck that. It's your job to know.
Because there's repercussions for it.
No, man. It's repercussions for them, for sure.
Not while you're in the cell.
Not worried about that, bro.
Of course, because you're built like that, and that's what I love about you.
Look, this right here,
but
that's why he didn't pull out his ID, cuz fuck her. I
She
live
has
here,
no
go
authority.
fuck yourself.
She has no authority.
Neither does the cop.
Of
Your
course
job,
the cop
no,
has authority.
no, your job is to enforce the law. That's it. If you did it wrong, then you did it wrong. The only time you have any authority over me is when I'm breaking the law. I'm not breaking the law. Not breaking the law.
You're not breaking the law, but you could be caught in the system.
That's
that
true.
happens to people all the time.
Happens all the time. I don't disagree with that,
And
but I disagree with the
because
fact that he has authority over me. He doesn't.
Because that variable exists, you should take preventive measures. That's all I'm saying. Are you completely
Specifically
right?
because that variable exists, I shouldn't. Specifically because that's the problem, bro.
But why won't you protect yourself?
I do, by following the law.
But if the law is not in your favor,
In this instance, the thing that we're specifically talking about, it absolutely is.
but it could the context of what you're doing could also be analyzed as
No, if they
breaking the law.
analyze it, it's not breaking the law.
It could be looked at. There's a circumstance.
If you're actually looking at it, I'm not breaking the law. Again, at
Well, the only
any
way
version
he
of
would
this,
know-
the only version of this is
if
what?
he doesn't smoke pot, the only way he would know is he'd have to
Not
go test it.
my fault. And I have all the tests right here. I have everything right here. I have the paperwork. I have all this shit
But
right
he
here.
still has the authority to take you to court
No,
and
he
prove it
doesn't.
in court. Yeah, he
Only
does.
if I am breaking the law. Otherwise, it's a bad arrest. It's a wrong arrest, and
but
then
he has the authority to arrest you.
if I'm breaking the law,
for you to prove it in court.
or if he considers me breaking the law, for sure.
I'll give you another example that's
For sure.
fucked up. Me and my mom used to own this cleaning company, right? The company we worked for gave us a unit. We managed 400 units in this building, in this complex, okay? They gave us one of the units that they owned by them, but it was given to us to work. We had all of our supplies in that unit, okay? One day they decided to get rid of us. They showed up with the police and kicked us out because they owned the unit, but all of our property was in the unit. The cop said, it's no longer my authority. This is a civil matter. I can't allow you to take the stuff out. You have to go to court and prove that the stuff is yours for it to be yours. I showed him receipts. I showed him invoices on when they were purchased, how they were purchased, and he said, that's none of my business. You need to take that to a civil court. So clearly there are actions that happen, and that's where the way the system is set up. So you always have to protect yourself and be ready. So we decided, should we go get an attorney and fight for that stuff? And we found out the attorney was worth $5,000 retainer. We didn't have $5,000 in products in there. So we just lost the products. Isn't it fucked up that was our shit?
Yeah, it's terrible.
And we couldn't take it?
That's super
But
fucked
that's
up.
part of, that's the societal
Yeah,
system.
it's not the same situation what I'm in, but I hear what you're saying.
But it's still a thing that they have no authority over,
No.
but they made the decision and said, you take it up
Nah,
in the
they
court.
followed everything to the law that they could do.
And they said, take it to court.
They followed everything to the law that they could do. And they said, take it to court. But they didn't wrongly arrest you.
No, because there wasn't no, I wasn't still, if I would have went in there and took the shit in front
Yeah.
of the cop, you would have arrested me.
Because you would have broken into somebody else's house. For
Right.
Sure. Literally nothing I'm doing is illegal.
It could be perceived as illegal.
No, it can't.
Yeah.
Like, not correctly, it can't.
It's like you're walking around with a BB gun that looks like an M16.
Mm-hmm.
You expect the cop to approach you like it's a BB gun? No, he's going to approach you like it's an M16.
It depends
Then
on if-
later on, he's going to find out that it's a BB gun.
Depends if, am I open and carry law? Am I black, white? What am I?
Still going to approach you.
Seriously.
The
I mean, is it an open carry state?
Okay,
Am I black, white, or whatever?
All that is semantics.
No, it's not. Because if I'm white, I'm not getting approached.
That's circumstantial.
No, it's
He's
situational.
still going
and
to
it
approach you
happens.
like it's a real gun until he finds out that it's a fake gun.
Right. So should I go to, if I'm deciding to walk down, say this is an open carry state, and I decide to walk down the road with an M16.
It would benefit you. It would
Benefit
benefit
me
you to
to
call
go-
the police office
Right.
and say, "Hey, I'm going to be walking down the street with my gun. Don't be
Here we
alarmed
go.
when you drive
Beautiful.
by."
I love that you said that.
You don't have to do that.
I love that you said
You
that.
don't have to do that. The law says you're allowed to carry it
yeah.
and do whatever you want. Yes.
Exactly.
But you should be smart enough to know, because we live in a mass shooting society and there's crazy psychos,
Ain't it
which is a
crazy?
very variable.
Ain't it crazy?
It's a variable of what's
Ain't
happening.
it crazy how the responsibility is put on the victim of the problem? Ain't that crazy?
Because it's the society we live in.
Ain't that crazy? And
It's
that's
the
the problem.
society we
So
live
fuck
in.
that. I'm not doing. If it's right for me, I can just go do it. I can just go do it. Fuck all that other shit. If it's good for you, it's good for me. And if it continues to be a problem, then it's gonna be a problem. I'm just the next dead motherfucker on the sidewalk. Now, I'm never gonna carry a gun down that way, but I'm never gonna go walk down the street. If you don't gotta go walk down the street, or she don't gotta walk down the street, or he don't gotta walk down the street and announce myself with a gun, if the next motherfucker don't, just cause that's the way of the world. Fuck that noise, bro. That's why we're still here in this space right now in 2020. Because why didn't he just not fill in the blank? If he had just fill in the blank. Nah, bro. If all these motherfuckers can be up here armed, then so can I. None of these motherfuckers got to walk to the police station. Just me, because of the way of the world. Fuck that shit, bro.
It's the same thing as like.
Fuck that shit, bro.
Are you gonna jump in a boat with holes in it? Aren't you gonna patch the holes up to ride the boat, right? Because it's safer.
That's what you do when you put people on blast.
I'm gonna patch the holes in the boats before I
No, you're
take
not.
it down the river.
No, you're not.
Why not?
You're gonna put on a faster boat motor so you can get there faster. You're not gonna patch the boat. You're not fixing the problem, Peens. You're trying to figure out a way around the problem.
I know that it's a problem, so I don't want to be a victim.
Right.
Of
So you just try to get
circumstance.
there faster. You're not patching the hole up.
I would patch the hole up.
No, patching the hole up is confronting the problem and being critical of the problem and putting the problem on blast, not skirting around the problem and trying to do things to work around the problem.
I don't see it as skirting around the problem.
It is.
I see it as eliminating a possible issue. By me going down to
You're
the
not
police
eliminating
office
shit, bro.
and talking to the superior officer.
You shouldn't have to.
You shouldn't have to.
So for you to say you shouldn't have to patch a boat.
If it has holes in it,
It has holes in it.
that's the circumstance.
Right.
I didn't create the holes.
You didn't create the boat, Peens. You didn't create the fucking boat, homie. It's
Yeah.
not your job. It's not my job to make sure the boat works. It's their job to make the boat work. Okay? I'm in the boat. You make the boat right, because that's your job. You know how to make the boat right. You know that's your job.
Yeah, but if
why
you're-
am I, who's just riding in the fucking boat? Why is it my job to patch the boat?
Because you decided to get in the boat.
No. I
and
got pulled in this motherfucker by force.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you.
Me
just-
being born here is just me being born
you
here.
growing a substance in your garage.
Okay, now we're gonna
that
take it all the way back.
looks
We're
like
gonna
a
look at what we're talking
legal
about.
substance.
Again, it's
is
not.
you choosing to get in the boat.
It's not, but illegal though. I'm getting in the hemp boat. It's completely different.
Okay, would you use a pesticide to fix something in your garden because it
No,
would
I
make
can't.
the garden better?
Not in the hemp garden. I'm not allowed to.
Or maybe pesticide is a wrong, but wouldn't you, if you knew that this material would make your hemp garden stronger,
Right.
wouldn't that be
You keep
smarter?
trying to use these like inanimate things to equate this kind of like racial injustice thing when it isn't the same. Like though when you try to make analogies, you should do it to something that are living and things that are like important. So, like try to use like animal kingdoms or something like that. Does the hippopotamus do this before that? Because for you to talk about like gardens or cars or something like that, they don't equate. Like the because these things don't matter as much as these things matter. And we're talking about a thing where a society is doing something bad to another group of people. And sure, to get along and to make stuff easier for me, I should talk a little different, dress a little different, to skirt around. That's exactly it.
That's not
No,
what I'm
listen,
saying.
you're not saying that.
That's
You're
what
not
I'm
saying that. Listen, hold on, stop. You're not saying that right now. You're not saying that I should talk a little different or dress a little different. But that's the same idea of I could, like if I go to a school, I go to a business, I go to a work, I could get
You're
around
not
a lot of
adding-
problems.
But you're not.
I can get
adding
around
the
a lot of
variable
problems.
The fact that what you look like you're doing is illegal.
Okay, so let's get to a part
That's
where
all I'm saying. When you're growing a product that looks like an illegal product
Okay.
with the lights and it looks like the same setup, that's just a variable of what you're doing.
Okay. Is it illegal for my eyes to be red?
No.
Okay. So if I come into work because I've been up late all night,
That's not a good analogy.
should I have to tell my boss that I haven't been smoking weed all night?
No, but
No.
that's not a good analogy. Because what I'm saying is what you're technically doing in the garage is not
Stop saying
illegal.
technically. It's not illegal. It's period, not illegal. Not
Okay.
technically, not like by some skirt of the imagination.
You're right.
I'm
but
literally not doing nothing
Can
illegal.
you agree the fact that something similar to what you're doing can also be illegal, minus the hemp? If it was a real marijuana plant, it would be illegal, right?
Yes.
So that's just common sense. When somebody's walking up on something,
He
they're
can come up and talk to me all he feels like. That's not what we're debating. You keep going back to that part of him walking up to the thing. You're saying I should go ahead of time to the police station, and that's the part I'm disagreeing with, because him coming up, because the risk is he's going to come up and be an ignorant officer and arrest me anyway. That's the risk you're talking
not
about.
because you're black, because he thinks you're
'Cause
growing
he's
an
an-
illegal substance.
We'll take race out of it.
Okay.
Just because he feels like I'm doing something illegal, and I'm saying that's not my job to make him know what those rules are. It's not his job to pull out his card and make this person feel comfortable. I didn't build this boat. This boat was already built. I'm getting in fucking patched up and all in the right amount of boat motor, and I'm just in this bitch riding. It's not my job to patch up the holes that are caused by people's ignorance at all. And I'm not going to. I shouldn't, and I'm not going to go and make sure it's okay for them so that it's okay for me later. No, it's okay for me now, bro. It's okay for me right now.
Can you at least understand that what I'm saying is a preventive measure?
It is a preventive measure.
And it would make your life a little easier as far as
arguably.
As far as you having a direct connection with law enforcement, because not what you're doing is wrong, but it could be perceived as wrong. So wouldn't that just help your situation?
Arguably, it could possibly work.
Okay. That's all I'm saying.
But
you're right though.
It's
I'm
not
not saying what you're doing is wrong. You're completely right.
It's not something that I am going to do, because that's not something that's my responsibility. And for people not to know their job is their own that's their own problem. That's their own business.
All right, let's move on to this next racial situation. Okay. We in Florida have a lot of Hispanics, and you constantly hear this racial epithet of, why don't you speak English? Right?
Right.
So this is a situation on one of those shows where they like, you know,
what would you do?
Yeah.
I love this
show.
So John Quinones.
This is the first side of it, and then we're going to see the other side of it.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tracy. I'll be your server today. Can I get you something to drink?
Sí, dos aguas, por favor.
Huh? I don't speak Spanish. You're going to have to speak in English. English.
Sorry. Earlier this season, we brought you an adoptive mother trying to get her daughter to speak only English.
I just like speaking Spanish.
But you're in America now. I want you to speak English. I want her to be more American.
And just forget about where she came from.
So you understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't actually.
But stories keep popping up of language barriers igniting fires in this country.
The local Albertson store is accused of breaking the law with a no Spanish policy.
In May, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission sued the Albertsons
So what do you think
grocery
about
chain.
that, Thompson?
They're
not allowed to speak Spanish?
Should you, because you're an American, should it be something culturally more accepting? Like, should we, like, is it okay to look down on people when they've been in this country for a long time and they don't learn how to speak
It's
English?
never okay to look down on anybody. So probably reframe the question different to me.
Should you learn to speak English if you become an American?
It depends on your job.
America is our national language.
America is our
English
national.
English is an American national language.
I disagree with that too. I think most people speak English. I think English is England's national language, and it kind of got transported over.
So
here,
it's some racist shit when someone says, "Yo, you should learn how to speak English."
I think it is.
Okay.
I don't think you have to. I don't think you need to get along in this country. But I think if you work somewhere where, I mean, some people have to speak English. Social Security office, you got to speak English. post office. You got to speak English.
My grandfather, when he first moved here from Colombia, and he was the first generation immigrant that
Banks.
brought over my parents and stuff, he would say, in the house, if as long as it's us, we could speak Spanish. If there's a guest that comes and they don't speak Spanish, we should speak English to accommodate them. Something out of respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were told to learn English because we're Americans.
Yeah. I think it helps.
Okay.
But I think knowing Spanish in America is beneficial too.
Absolutely.
So
this is the other side of that argument. This is in Hialeah.
So you can't take my
Strong Spanish community.
order. You won't understand what I'm saying?
One woman's frustrating trip through the drive-thru has gone viral on social media, and it's sparking a conversation about language. That driver is visibly upset because the employee at a Taco Bell drive-thru in Hialeah didn't speak English. We spoke with that driver, and Taco Bell has taken action. Local 10 News investigator Jeff Weinsteer is on this story. He's live with the details. Jeff.
Laura, you're about to see it yourself. A Taco Bell employee refusing to take an order, actually telling a customer to go to another location because that order wasn't placed in Spanish. Take a look.
Nobody here speak English. Nobody in the back speak English.
At this Taco Bell drive-thru, no.
You have to have somebody speak English at the drive-thru, even if it's a super, like, this is the Hispanic stronghold, Hialeah in Miami.
I mean, okay, so the issue is that this person can't get served.
Right.
You should be at least able to serve somebody. I guess I don't have to have a whole conversation with you, but can you accept my American ass money and my American ass credit card?
It's kind of backwards what you're saying a little bit.
No, it's not. Which part?
Because at first we want everybody to be accepted.
We are.
And if we know, like, I
This
get
is
it.
part of
She
being
was in
accepted.
the middle of Arkansas. Okay,
No, this is
and
part of being accepted. What do you mean? How is it confusing?
because if the community is Hispanic and that's who they hired, it's a Taco Bell, Spanish food.
I mean, I could argue that Taco Bell isn't Spanish food.
Okay, that's
but
true. But it derives.
It's called Taco Bell.
Right. What's a taco? It's a Spanish food.
Yeah, but where are you at right now?
Hialeah.
Right. In what part of the world?
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you should at least be able to communicate with me in the way that in this American ass place, because the majority of people, us here, speak English. Like, if it's a, see, what's
So you're telling that lady
what's written on the wall, bro? What's that say? Does that say something?
It's triple double.
How do you say that in Spanish?
I don't know.
Okay, neither do I. You know why? Because it's fucking English right there. So, like, I'm saying nobody in there can take my order. So, guess I'm not coming back to Taco Bell unless y'all rectify that, Taco Bell.
Is that reverse racism?
How is that reverse racism? She's not saying you can't eat here.
Yeah, she told the lady,
No,
I
she
can't
said
take your order.
She said you should go to a different place, probably. And I doubt it was fully because she couldn't understand her.
Oh, she was coming across hard as like, oh, you don't speak English,
At a
you don't
certain
speak
point,
English.
you just kind of aren't being very. But the lady with the camera has a point, I think.
So she has to learn English.
I think you need to know English if you're going to work at a place where you have to talk to people, customers coming in and out. Or figure out a way to take your order without having to deal with talking to each other, which is totally possible. I don't know if you got to like hit a 1 or a 2 or do like the thing they have at Wawa or whatever. I don't have to talk to you.
I definitely agree. I think if you're going to be working the register, taking orders, you have to learn how to speak English.
It makes sense.
I'm Hispanic, and I get super annoyed when I go to a drive-through and I cannot understand the person in the drive-through. Like, that person should be working. I'm not saying fire them, but put them in another position.
I don't know. I think being upset is too much, though, and feeling like people need to be reprimanded and like made to
Well, I
feel
don't want
stupid.
people to be reprimanded, but it frustrates
you,
me that I'm trying to.
but
I want to get a service provided for
That's
me.
what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you money to do stuff for me.
Right.
And if you can't communicate with me, then there's a problem.
Right.
And the predominant language in this country is English.
It's English.
So it's not racist. The reverse racism is just either, like you said,
circumstantial.
Move them to another place or put up some sort of Wawa, hold the cheese, extra beans on my
if you're
taco.
going to become a U.S. citizen, I get the resident, I get the visas. I want everybody to come to this country. But if you're going to be a U.S. citizen, you should at least learn how to speak English.
I mean, they pass a pretty hard test to become citizens. like a super hard test.
I passed the test.
They know more than
It's not
fucking
that hard.
I disagree with what you're saying.
It's not that hard.
I disagree with what you're saying.
All right, but I became a U.S. I was a resident. I was
Yeah.
born in Venezuela.
Yeah.
I came here at 18. I took the test.
Yeah.
And I became a U.S.
Yeah,
citizen. It's not that hard.
No, I disagree with what you're saying. I think part of it had to do with maybe you.
I grew up in America also.
I was gonna say like maybe you were, and plus when you took that, you were fresh out of high school. When a lot of the shit on the test was the shit you were learning in high school.
Right.
So it's not an easy test. Just like how 5th grade math isn't easy math. Like
I wouldn't say it's hard. Or I wouldn't say it's difficult.
it is. It's a difficult test. You got to know like dates. You got to know historical facts and stuff like that. It's not a chemistry test. It's not a math test.
You got to learn American culture.
You got to learn American history.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Well, culture too, because they want you to understand like certain context of being American, like what it is to be patriotic and stuff. So there's some type of culturalism there, American culture.
I didn't know much about it. My mom took the test in the 80s, so I saw a lot of that stuff, and I knew it wasn't like an easy test. So
she had spoke English before she came.
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
it isn't
it definitely
English. It isn't
definitely
learning.
gives you an edge if you because they're not going to give you a Spanish test.
Yeah,
it's
I
going
mean,
to be in English.
If there's a way to do it, I don't necessarily think you have to speak English. It's just that it should be you should be able to communicate.
But this is definitely wrong.
For her to say that you need to leave and go somewhere else, yeah, can't do that shit. Especially with a corporation, bro. Like just literally Taco Bell should be saying that's wrong. But also, there's just a lot of people in that area that only speak Spanish. So I think there's a little bit of understanding to be had on both points. Like you really can't explain what to do with a taco face to face without knowing each other's language. I think you can. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know much Spanish, but I know frijoles. You know what I'm saying?
So this next one is about
this is new,
racist moments in the educational system in universities. University, the grounds of a university, in my opinion, should be the most politically correct area because it's a area of education, right? It's you're taught to vocalize your opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's when you first start stepping into like your own debate and stances and putting your feet down when you first get to college.
Right.
You develop opinions that are outside of what your parents said. I mean, what your friends in high school said.
So this is about freedom of speech and how, even though it might be racist, I still think that we need to allow people to speak their mind. It might be hate. And that's why I wanted to ask your opinion. Even if somebody is spewing some hate shit on their social media or they say it out loud, I think they should still be protected with some type of rights. Like, as long as you're not hurting anybody, I still think you should speak your mind. And I kind of want to know if you're racist or not. You know what I mean? I think that should be protected by freedom of speech. So that's what this is about.
So you've heard the saying before, be careful what you post on social media as it lives forever. So on Monday, UF tweeted that a prospective student who posted racist comments on social media would no longer be joining the university this fall. That created a firestorm of commentary, including some asking, doesn't that fall under your First Amendment right of freedom of speech? 10 Tampa Bay's Candace Aviles asks a few lawyers to get their take.
You have the right to freedom of speech. However, you don't have the right to attend a state university.
Renelia DuBose, associate professor at the Thomas M. Cooley Law School, has been an educator for 34 years.
In the state of Florida, K-12 education is guaranteed in the Florida Constitution.
She says the first thing to understand in this case is that attending a state university is a privilege that can easily be withdrawn. And second, schools have codes of conduct you must follow. Attorney Ken Turkel says those codes tend to be broad.
Schools have to regulate their student bodies to a degree. You have to have some rules, right? You can't just not have rules as to when somebody gets the right to stay in college.
Many people responded to UF's tweet asking, aren't you protected by your First Amendment right of freedom of speech? Both Ken and Renelia make it clear there are certain circumstances when your freedom of speech is limited, like defamation or mayhem.
In a civilized society, you have freedom of speech. You can go out and stand on a public street and preach just about anything you want to. However, understand, all speech is not protected. Obscenity, is not protected. Speech that causes mayhem, if you're in a crowded movie theater, you cannot scream, "This place is on fire." So freedom of speech is not unlimited in the United States.
They both advise not putting everything you think on the internet, especially content that can harm your ability to work
Don't put
or go
all
to
your
school in the
thoughts on the
future.
internet.
As a default setting, they should just be thoughtful and careful about what they put out there, and particularly when you may fall into something that could run afoul of historical constitutional protections.
See, that's my thing. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with what racist people post on their stuff, but I think they should be allowed to post whatever they want, because that's a slippery slope. If you start, like when they banned Alex Jones from all social media, from YouTube, from Twitter, I think that was a bad thing. Like, yeah, he believes that Sandy Hook was a fucking, psyops mission and nobody really died, and maybe there was, some weird conspiracy going on, but we can all agree that a whole bunch of kids died and stuff like that. And him speaking his opinion, just like this student or this prospect student making some racial posts, like, I don't know, what do you think about that?
I think you should be allowed to say whatever you want. I think you are allowed to say whatever you want to, but with that comes consequence. No, you're about to say something that is whatever it is. Could be negative, could be conspiratory.
I just don't think that should cancel you. That's the only thing. People should be opinionated. You should know who they are. Hey, that's a racist motherfucker.
Yeah,
and this
you
is their
do.
opinion.
I'm saying, I think you're allowed to.
You're allowed to, but we also live in a gray area now where all these movements come out that cancel people and like get rid of people like Alex Jones. Like, that's part of it.
Bro, if you come out and you say
that's not making us a free nation
yeah,
anymore.
it is. You're allowed to say it. You didn't go to jail for it.
Yeah, but you get canceled
because you said some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
If you said peanut butter is delicious on the internet, the people who are allergic to peanut butter might be like, "Meh, bullshit," and everybody else can be like, "All right." But if you say white people are a superior race, you're allowed to say that too.
What about when Kevin Hart throws some like, I'll bash my kid over the head if he's gay?
Yeah, I mean, that's a different thing just because, I mean, today they say that's a different thing because he's a comedian and he's obviously, or assumingly obviously joking about bashing his head, or he has some like latent homoerotic problem.
That's okay.
It is okay. He can say it.
He shouldn't be chastised for it. That's his opinion.
I don't know.
I mean, you're allowed to.
He's allowed to say
disagree, but I don't believe we should cancel people for stuff like that.
That's what happens. If you're the free speech is free speech, protected in that you're allowed to say it.
It
right?
doesn't feel like free speech though, because there's always a consequence of something happening.
It's free speech.
Keep your mouth shut.
Are you in jail?
Keep your mouth shut.
That's free speech. You're not in jail.
Right.
That's what that is.
I guess I see what you're saying.
It doesn't mean University of Florida has to agree with you and invite you in.
Like she said, it's a privilege to go to a one.
And I think people. I hope people are as honest as they can.
I think it's a form of oppression, though.
But it's not, though.
Yeah, it's just the opposite.
Oppression means you cannot do.
Well, you secretly cannot do because you might.
No, you can do it. But if you want to go to the University of Florida, you can't. But if they don't want you as a racist, why would you want to be there?
Keep your ideas to yourself.
No, not at all. Just understand, if you want to be super honest about being a racist.
Can you be racist and not have, like, can you not like another group of people but not hate them?
Cool. Hate is a strong thing, I think.
Right.
So sure, you can not like somebody because of their race and keep it quiet and then move along in life until you are CEO of the company and then silently do your little Wizard of Oz work. That's where a lot of this happens. That's the stuff we're talking about before, about how it's nuanced, because people will say one thing, but then be behind doors because, like you're saying, we already know what they're thinking and we already know that it's a problem. So we're going to go ahead and just not say anything, because if I do, then I wouldn't be able to be dean of this college.
Yeah.
But since I was quiet about it because I understood that the consequences of my actions were going to be looked at negatively, I'm fine, even though that's how I think about black people. But if I was more vocal and out about it, then I'm just going to be some person on the street because everybody already knows my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think anybody should be able to say whatever, and they do. People say literally whatever they want, and they're allowed to say whatever they want. But I don't have any problem with a college disagreeing with it. And
I just think there shouldn't be, unless you physically do something, there shouldn't be a consequence for it.
See, the problem with that is the physical part, right? That's saying that the only time it's wrong is if it literally hurts somebody physically. And that's not true.
Well, not just physically. Like, obviously, you know, if you're just going to go to school and get your degree and move on to some regular job, not like some position of power or some type
That's what I'm saying. Like, see, this guy here, he puts racist shit up on the internet all the time. And he's in a position of power.
Yeah.
You know, he's not canceled necessarily because he's president now, but you know, we know, so we can possibly work around where we have him and who can, like, whatever, Orlando didn't want him or some state didn't want him, whatever it was.
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean? We know ahead of time because he said what he said, but he got canceled in certain instances.
Yeah.
But you're saying that it's wrong to cancel him for the things that he's tweeting.
Yeah, because it's his ideas. It's their ideas, and as long as they're not in a position to affect that,
they are though. I mean, a lot of times they are. They're like,
I'm just saying in general, like
Right.
this student that's just mouthing off some of their beliefs, they should still be allowed to go to college and do your own thing.
nah, man.
You know what I mean? Because it's just their beliefs. It's the same thing as saying, I don't believe in Muslims. I'm a Christian or I'm a Jewish. And I could say, you know what? If it wasn't for Muslims, we wouldn't have so much radical war. And that's just their opinion. I'm not saying it's a fact.
Right.
But by you saying that shouldn't like limit you from going to a school or something. Or I believe
college.
that white people are better than black people. You know what I mean? That's your opinion.
Yeah, I think that should limit you from going to like certain places that don't agree with what you're talking about, but not like a restaurant. Well, a restaurant or a bank, or
it's the same thing. Then we're doing the same thing that the whites were doing back.
No,
in the day.
I'm not saying you can't go to these places. I'm saying they shouldn't stop you from going to these places. But another place like,
I mean, if you're going to a tech school to become an AC technician, who cares if you're a fucking racist?
The people who are giving you that information because they don't want to put out racist tech school people.
I just think that that's a slippery slope. I don't have to agree with this person's views, but if they're not physically affecting somebody,
yeah. But the racism is the thing, and we're not canceling people for being inclusive and being positive and being progressive. We're canceling people for being negative and racist and uninclusive, which is all things that rational people, I feel like,
right,
think are bad things. So we're not really talking about a slippery slope per se. I guess there could be, like if I was to write some sort of essay on why the government is cheating all of us, and then they decided I didn't like how you wrote about the government. Is that what you're saying? Like those, if they decided
things like
gay
like,
marriage,
like we're canceling Jesus or we're going to cancel science.
They're canceling Jesus, by the way.
And we're canceling science because they believe that there's more white men in charge of the principles of science that get turned into doctrines and education and, that builds the organizations of systems. They're run by white people, so all this shit's corrupt. You know what I mean?
I would say you have an argument.
You do have an argument, but it's like.
But you shouldn't get canceled for posting that on Facebook, is what you're saying. And you know what? I kind of agree with that. I guess
it's your opinion.
There's in a way that is a slippery slope, but I guess we just don't want people like that in power. So
that's all I'm saying. But if you'd be an AC tech or a plumber, you could still come fix my house.
The guy who tried to sell me windows was super racist.
But that greed, that dollar bill, will cancel out a lot of this shit. It's just personal prejudice,
It's true.
Personal.
At the end of the day, that greed, that money will.
So you agree on accepting people? You agree on people identify with who they want to be?
Do I agree on accepting
The
everybody?
same way a man can grow up and be like, I want to be a female, or a female can grow up and be like, I want to be a man.
I guess I'm just kind of confused by some of that in particular. I heard, this is kind of jumping a turnstile, but I was watching a commercial, and I'm still not 100% sure about it, but I think they were trying to like make a period not gender specific.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, literally the guy said, my period knows no gender in the commercial. So I watched it twice.
So guys are going to start taking period medication?
I don't know. I watched it twice. I didn't understand. I don't know.
It's not biologically possible.
I don't know. And I just, whatever you just said made me think of that.
But that's the future I think we're heading, where people are going to start identifying with absolute bullshit like this next clip I'm going to play.
I didn't say what that was bullshit. If there's some world where a dude
What if
feels
you're
like
what if you're a
period
Spanish
or
white
whatever.
looking cop and you say I want to identify as a black cop because
That happened.
That's what I'm about to.
I was gonna say that happened. I've seen that.
Now, a Miami police captain has been suspended
Okay,
after
so
controversial comments.
first of all, he said that shit just to say that shit.
Okay, but
Like he's being like argumentative. or
Yes.
whatever. Okay.
But
Made
what it like Rachel Dalla whatever the white lady that was running the NAACP but identified as a black woman.
I don't. It doesn't take anything away from me for her to do that.
That's okay.
I don't know if okay is the word.
Slippery slope we're dealing with.
It doesn't affect me. So I don't care, I guess.
It does.
How does that affect me?
If white people, like, let's say,
because she's not legally black.
Let's say we start moving in this super progressive direction.
She can like change her race.
And we start having this all-inclusive thing for African Americans, for Hispanic Americans, and white people are just left out of all these opportunities. You're going to start identifying as a black person. People do that to get into certain universities.
Some people are, for sure.
Yeah.
They're going to look just as stupid as she does.
How does that look stupid, though? If we don't call Caitlyn Jenner stupid, why are we going to call somebody like that? If she has a black husband and black kids, and she's been immersed in black culture, and she wants to identify as a black woman, if Shauna woke up one day and you absolutely love her, and she's like, you know what? I don't want to be a white woman no more. I want to be a black woman. You have to accept it.
Of course I do. But I would definitely drop little pearls every once in a while. Just to like help her out.
On his race. Local 10 News reporter Terrell Fournay is live with the developing details. Terrell.
And word of that suspension literally coming down within the past 90 minutes or so, likely because of those controversial comments. You know, black officers for decades have long fought for equality. They have this historic museum in the city of Miami to document their plight. And with those words by Captain Ortiz,
I got that t-shirt.
Officers
but it's
still
blue
on the
without a
force
collar.
believe they were disrespected.
I'm a black male. Yes, I am.
That declaration by Miami Police Captain Javier Ortiz last week sparked a
disingenuous,
cringeworthy
so,
debate among
you know.
Miami City commissioners.
Let's not talk about the degree of blackness. Oh, no, you're blacker than me. That's obvious.
Oh,
And
no!
just
He
because
said
those
that's obvious.
words earned Ortiz
No, you're
a
blacker than me. That's
suspension.
obvious.
I think it's a step in the right direction. I would like to see him terminate fully, but it's a step in the right direction.
The head of the union representing Miami's black officers believes Ortiz is a troubled cop who initially noted himself as white Hispanic on his hiring application, but later marked himself as black on his lieutenant and captain exams to get a promotional advantage.
to get the
Basically, it's
advantage.
a slap in the face
See,
of black officers.
This is
because-
what you're talking about. They feel like they're left out, or not they. Some of these fools feel like they're left out. Somehow, they've been at the top of the heap all these fucking years, for decades, centuries. So when a certain group of people try to even the playing field or try to lift up another group of people, they feel like they're being taken away from. When it's like you have a surplus. You personally have a surplus. So if anything's
Of
being taken away,
opportunity.
it's being taken away from your surplus and given to me to fill up my empty ass debt of a privilege.
Forget all that.
Okay.
Is it okay to identify as another race?
So like all of this stuff, right? Even when we talk about the identifying a certain way to go to a certain bathroom or whatever, and then there's an argument that a percentage of people are going to do it just to go into the bathrooms, like not to be actually identifying as a woman, but I just want to go in a woman's bathroom because I'm a woman. That's what he's doing right now. He's being the guy that is just doing it so that he can get in the women's bathroom, not because he's genuine about it. I believe possibly Caitlyn Jenner is genuine about it, even though she didn't, fully go through with everything.
But that's semantics. I mean, like,
no, it's not.
Clearly I can see that.
No, it's not.
And we can read through that, but there's going to be a variable. There's going to be an
such
anomaly.
a small thing, though. You're saying it's an anomaly.
Rachel, no, but in the future, because we're so accepting.
So to answer your question, sure, yes, it's fine. If it's done for, like, the right reasons and you're not doing it to get a subscription to a magazine or a scholarship or a job.
Why not scholarship?
Why can't I say that I'm black so I get a better scholarship when I'm not black?
Yeah, or to get accepted into a black university or something because you choose you want to go there.
But you're doing it just to get the scholarship, not because you really identify with that.
No, you might have been raised in a community.
No,
like
I'm not
that.
talking. We're not talking about a maybe. And that if it's genuine, it's genuine. You can't really get around people's shit. You know what I mean?
But if it's genuine, then you got to accept everybody.
No, you don't, because sometimes it's not genuine.
Yeah, but you don't know. Like,
we
you
know.
Don't know, Caitlyn.
Oh, we know. That guy said.
You can
and
tell.
There's tons. And there's tons.
Tell, but there is a gray area of people like Caitlyn Jenner. If you don't know if it wasn't, because you could argue, him or her doing that raised her equity crazy.
Yeah, she won like Sports Person of the Year or something.
Money, security.
They already have money.
So you could but she has way more. She solidified herself in history.
No, she's Olympian, like Wheaties box. The money was there. Married to
doing
the
that.
Jenners. Good
doing
to go.
that
wasn't like a money thing.
He was just a regular ass rich white person.
I guess I didn't really follow him before or after, or her.
All
him
I'm
before
saying is
or her
people
after.
get incentivized for making decisions like this now.
But it doesn't mean that's the reason they're making them, and it doesn't mean they're not the reason they're making them.
But you don't know that sometimes. People are good at conning. And
so they should. So you're saying maybe. So what do you say? Are you saying that they shouldn't be able to identify as whatever they identify as?
What I'm saying is that let's get inclusive, but realize that there's going to be some con artists coming through.
Welfare.
And it's part of it.
Welfare. You know, how you're incentivized not to be married when you're on welfare?
Yeah.
So some people stay. The argument is that
take advantage of
it and they stay single so they don't have to wait welfare.
Yeah.
I don't think that number is so high that you stop giving welfare.
Right.
Or that number is so high that you stop letting people identify however they want to identify.
Right.
I think it's a anomaly for people to do that.
I just think it should be more of a personal thing, and it shouldn't be. I get
legal.
Promoted.
I shouldn't accept it, or shouldn't have to accept it, and you shouldn't have to accept it. You could just feel like a dude. You could feel like a 15-year-old blonde girl right now. That's
right.
You. Sure, but problem is for social services and stuff like that. What?
Yeah, I understand. So, because you could take advantage, or I'm a 15-year-old girl. So does that mean that I could just do everything that a 15-year-old girl does? You know what I mean? Or I identify as a dolphin. Now I want to live in the ocean.
There's a line that gets drawn eventually, I think. You know where it happened in? The service animal line got drawn eventually, where people were trying to take peacocks and shit on airplanes, and eventually like, nope. You know what we're doing? Dogs, pigs, and cats. Or I think there's like because people were trying to bring peacocks and hamsters and all sorts of shit.
Well, even now with that service, like I can go to a psychiatrist and they can give me a note to say that the dog is my emotional support.
Sure.
And the dog's not even trained or anything as a service dog.
Right.
And people take advantage of that shit. Because I'm going to take advantage of that shit with my dog.
It's better than how it was before when they could bring any other goddamn thing. That's why I'm saying the line gets regularly drawn. And then at a certain point, they're going to figure out that people are taking advantage of that and figure out a way to like knock that down. So if there's a crazy surge in people taking scholarships to HBCUs,
and then what happens? A new supremacy starts.
It's always somebody going to try to take advantage of stuff, man.
I'm a better transitional person than you are.
No,
you ain't got the battle scars as me. I actually cut my dick off.
I'm telling you, there's levels in the arguments, especially on the left. That's what we were talking about, the right and the left. Especially on the left, there's so many subsections of people, and they argue amongst each other, and then those subsections argue amongst each other. When on the right, it's just God bless America, God bless Trump, God bless freedom. Like, that's basically it. American freedom, probably the same thing for them, but
I think there's more of an intellectual capacity on the liberal side. I mean,
maybe that's why there's so many arguments.
To be liberal, you have to be open-minded.
Maybe that's just why there's so many arguments. Because everybody's so goddamn.
Because that's the foundation of being a liberal.
But I don't know, man. The only reason I try to say, like, yes, I'm accepting, or not the only reason, but like one of the reasons is because of how I was brought up. Because I'm black and I had to deal with the shit. So I look at being gay as being black, or being trans as being black, or being a woman as being black, or a black woman, the worst possible thing, because I just know, and we can argue about statistics all day with people going back and forth, but like at the end of the day, the experiences of me and the life experiences of the people I know, they weren't just anecdotal. They were anecdotal, but like everybody I know,
no, it's systematic.
Has some version of it,
and everybody can identify with it.
So when I see somebody getting persecuted just because their brain works a little different, something they don't control all the way, then I at least want to be like, all right, bro, you're black. Sweet. But then, at a certain point, you're just like, damn, so now you're just going to say nigga all the time? Because I done gave you the pass?
That's what we're heading.
So I think there's a balance there. I hear what you're saying, because at a certain point, you can't be, you're not a dolphin, dog. You're not a dog.
You're not a dog.
But you really want to be a dolphin, so in the ocean with you. I'll be here with the life vest.
Who's that? That's George the dolphin.
He's like, you're drowning, bro. But there's in there, there's people who completely just identify with they're literally a woman.
Yeah, no.
I was watching The Shy. You ever watch The Shy?
I've seen a few episodes. No, I haven't got into
this. The season 3. This season is noticeably an uptake on like the LGBTQ stuff. And this scene in this one, the dude's in a club, and the lady's singing, or however this person identifies, and you're like, wait, until you get right here, and you can see like the little beard through the makeup. It's like that person identifies as a woman, and to me, being born in the 80s and as ignorant as I am, I still see a woman as a woman and a man as a man. And I'm still not to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know your pronoun.
You're not deprogrammed.
Oh, my fault. What's your pronoun? So I can, I just sort of say her and he, and I just do it until I'm like checked, and then I'm an asshole for, an hour until they know I'm not like an asshole. But I just see a woman, So a person like that is not taking advantage of anything. Yeah. They feel how they feel.
But there's that part too. We have to get rid of that I feel like an asshole shit. If your intention is to not make somebody feel uncomfortable and I fuck up your pronoun, you can't get mad at me. Because if my intention is to try, then, you have to be open-minded to the fact that this is your mission and I'm just being open-minded to it.
Well, okay, so look how they feel.
I totally get all that.
No, but that's all. That's all. Like, you're not the victim. So don't feel...
But don't turn me to an adversary either.
But that part of it you should just accept and just deal with it.
If I get confused, that's not my fault.
No. I'm talking about, like, you shouldn't be offended that they're offended.
No. But don't come at me in an offensive way because I fucked up.
You should be more understanding about that.
They should be more understanding.
It's
their plight.
They're the victim. Exactly.
It's their plight.
Exactly. They're the victim.
But I can't call it victim. It's a choice.
They're a victim. And it's not a choice if that's how you feel in your head. You're saying they're choosing to be gay.
They're choosing to identify as it.
You
feel like it, but when you make
we're talking about people
choice,
who are who really. This is like a legitimate thing now. We're talking about the people who are legitimately there.
That's a gray area because it's
not though.
It's a psychological. It's a psychological.
If you're gay, you're gay,
makeup.
bro.
In the psychological book, it's called dysphoria. That's how science analyzes
Oh, I
it.
don't put anything into that. What science decides to call it now, because in
that has to be-
1917 there was no way that
has to be the ground
there was
for
no
it.
way that black people overthrew Egypt. Like in 1917.
But you're better if they
Anyway.
if they don't take it as an offense and they're more on the educational tip. Unless somebody's being disrespectful, then I get it. Don't be open-minded to that person. But somebody like me that wants to be open-minded, and you're a female and you're in a fluid stage and you haven't made the transition yet, but I think you're a male and I'm like, yo, bro, you want to hit this, and you take that as offense. You have to take some responsibility in that too.
You, as a person who doesn't have to deal with fucking that negative stigma all the time in your life, should be more sensitive to that. And if somebody gets upset with that, you can just apologize and be like, I didn't know, and then keep it moving.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the fact.
And try not to be offended, because that's like you being mad at a gay dude who erupts on you because he's had to deal with oppression with being gay all the time. Or like if a black, even though you're not fucking racist or homophobic, if I get upset because of something you said, because of the shit I dealt with my entire life that you don't even have to think about in your life, don't be upset at me for being upset about how my whole life was, because you're doing the same thing.
But also,
even if it was accidental.
Don't be upset at me if my intentions
so that we're going to disagree on that.
Understanding.
We're gonna,
I have to disagree.
We're going to disagree on that.
There's two sides.
You're not the victim.
I'm not trying to be the victim.
No, you are, by saying, hey, man, don't yell at me.
If I'm genuinely trying to understand.
Yes, just apologize and keep it moving.
And that doesn't happen all the time, though.
Yeah, I know it's hard. I mean, it's hard. I'm not saying it's always going to work. But, I mean, if you apologize, and you're like, oh, sorry, man, blah, blah, and it still keeps going, then I hear you.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because that consistently happens.
But initially.
Oh, you fucked up.
No,
now we caught you. That's the level we're living in a lot of times.
And then you just be like, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I'm sorry doesn't work out. Look at Kevin Hart when he apologized and he lost that whole thing.
Because he's a celebrity.
Okay, but that happens to people all the time. And that's another reason. We have to be accepting of apologies. We have to, we spoke about this already.
I agree with that,
We have to be ready for people to change.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
for sure.
That has to happen too on that side.
Yeah, after you apologize and you and legitimate apologies, not like, oh, I was just playing, or oh, I wasn't being serious. But if you literally say
condescending, go to fucking hell.
And you say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that your pronoun was a she, and I didn't realize you.
And I don't understand.
That part's fine too. I can't be in trouble for being
but
ignorant.
It's not. They make it like it's not.
Well.
They make it like,
Don't say they. Don't say they. Be careful.
Okay, but
sometimes
it seems like people are ready for the attack.
You're putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong part. Just every time you say people, or they, or some of them, or some of they, or whatever. Anytime there's because blanket statements, man. The only blanket statement that isn't incorrect is that all blanket statements are bullshit. You know what I mean? It's never them or they or whoever. It's that group of people or some of them or whatever. It's like the messaging we were talking about before. If they called it something other than defund the police, if the messaging was better, it would be accepted better. So when you say they, it always makes it seem like all gay people or whatever. Right. When that's not the case. It's just
not really. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Somebody, whoever, woman or whatever, don't talk to me like that.
It's mostly the transitional community that I feel like you want us to be accepting, but you have to have baby steps with us. Because if you're completely immersed in that world, but me being a heterosexual male, I'm not. But guess what? I'm open enough to, you know what? If I'm making you feel insecure or bad or anything negative,
let me know.
Yes.
And then,
with open arms.
And as long as that works, that's as far as I go with it. But you're right. You're not going to if I already said, oh, my fault, and I need to learn and I'm trying to do better, if you're still on my case about it, we're going to probably disagree on a high scale. And it's probably going to be me being disrespectful to you.
And I just think a lot of that, that's what I think is overrunning the Black Lives Matter movement. It's like now it's all Black Lives Matter, so we're going to throw in. Yeah, and it's just like one thing at a time. People have to get to catch up, and that's a whole other side. We have to be, as a society, if we want change, we have to also be open-minded to people and their learning ability. You know what I mean? And they're like the same way I have to identify with you being a victim and you dealing with that. You have to also be open-minded to me being acceptant of all and understanding all.
Your victim of understanding is such a small, minute, inconsequential part of this equation that when you say I have to or I need to or anything, it's like it'd be nice if they did, but nobody needs to like make anybody feel better because of you feel bad that they're a victim or whatever. You feel bad that I'm mad at you. Like if you're a white dude and I'm a ex-felon and I'm getting out and I'm upset at you for getting the job automatically, for you to be upset at me is fucked up. That I'm upset at you, that you're another white dude getting another thing over a felon, even though you're not as, like, if you're not as qualified as me for whatever, you know, the part of the thing where I'm better for the job than you are, but I don't get it because I'm a black felon and you get it because you're just some like 25-year-old hipster white dude. Like, and I'm upset that you're not really qualified. For him to be upset at him is not correct.
Right.
At least not, it's at least not on the same level.
And it's not allowing for real growth.
It's just that you can't be upset at the people who are upset. It's like being upset at a woman during a relationship who doesn't want to like make out with you in public because she got raped or something.
Yeah.
And you're upset at her for feeling like that. You can't be upset at her. She feels like that because of trauma and because of shit he had to deal with in her life. So just be understanding. Don't throw your opinion in people's face. Just listen and try to do better. That's it. Now, if it gets aggressive and people are still on your case and they're like attacking you, that's different. But like, honestly, most people just need to be quiet and listen. Men need to be quiet and listen to women. The women are the victim. Between the two sexes, women are the victim. So shut up and listen. Don't be offended that she's offended. In the victimhood of America, black people are the victim. Native Americans are the victim. Don't be offended that this Native American dude doesn't like you because you're Christian. Don't be offended. It is kind of prejudice that he just doesn't like you because you're Christian, but think about the history there.
Yeah.
So just try, maybe if you feel like it, try to be his friend. If not, then don't. But you can't be upset at him. Like, there's that victim blaming shit. Like, that's later for that, man. It may not be fully right that she blindly doesn't like you because you look like her ex-boyfriend, but you look like her ex-boyfriend. Yeah. And it may not be right that he blindly doesn't like you because you're a Christian, but Christian took all his land and gave him smallpox. So you got to understand.
Yeah. Now, when you said that about like female getting raped and then having to accept that.
Yeah, you may have the right intentions. It's just like, you got to understand, man.
No, it made sense when you said that, for sure. Well, 2 hours and a half later, we've come to the conclusion that the moral of the story is it's okay for you to hurt people into mass shootings and get rid of the fucked up people so that the world can be more peaceful and we can truly practice unconditional love, ladies and gentlemen.
So, I don't know if that's the moral of the story.
Hurting, get rid of all the bad people.
Hurting racist people.
It's basic math, bro.
Right?
Get rid of the negative and create more positive.
I agree with that.
By any means,
I agree with that.
By any means
Not by any means
necessary.
I agree with that. Not by any means necessary. Let's not kill people.
Well, it's freshproducefloridamedia@gmail. Thank you for all the comments lately.
Yes.
Thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing.
I'm not an asshole.
Thank you for hating. Thank you for
involving yourself.
Thank you for believing that our opinion is so superior and you're dealing with two people that hardly have an education.
Like we know what we're talking about.
You know, we're not the say-all here.
Learned
but
scholars.
Thank you for believing that it is.
All right. I love you and I love you.
Black belts in podcasting, ladies and gentlemen.
All podcasts matter.